Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by, let's get it right, Rumpus, Spurs Chemo, Sleeping Warrior, and Arwin. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
Sir, all is good.
Yeah, doing good.
Good afternoon. And congratulations for yesterday's event. First time Flat Earth conference, first time putting it out there in the public domain.
Yeah, technically after being introduced, I was the first speaker.
Well done. Fantastic. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to be the first here in Britain to speak about the Flat Earth in such a public forum like that.
Yeah, it went down brilliant, to be honest, as far as I am concerned. But I planned it. I'd rehearsed it twice, and it was supposed to take about 18, maybe 20 minutes if I overran. Somehow it ended up taking 50. I don't know how it went so bad.
Well, you got the floor, didn't you?
I got the floor, yeah, and
nobody to speak over you.
There wasn't a microphone there at the time, because it was perceived that I wouldn't need one because the room it was like medium sized, and I said I can project to the back, and I could project to the back, but everybody that was making rustling noises and whispering and all that, people at the back just couldn't hear me. So in the clip, it looks like I'm being really evangelical, but actually I'm projecting to the back so that people could hear me, but in real world they couldn't, so they didn't really need a microphone. But it was a dress rehearsal for today's show, so that the big hitters wouldn't have any problems, and now they realise the problems that they've got, so they can work on it. So it was good in that respect.
Cool. Yeah, and you didn't have to pay any attention to snipers.
No snipers, no naughties. It was all good. Rumpus is off mic at the minute. He said he'd be back shortly.
Why don't you do your presentation? Why don't you present what you've got?
No, Rumpus needs to see it.
Oh, okay. I thought you'd already seen it.
No, Rumpus is he knows what's in it. He knows what the facts are, but he hasn't actually seen it. So we can't really reveal it to Rumpus first. I need to tell the people what the facts are. Rumpus can then respond because he's been asked a specific question to do with the predictive capabilities of his model. And that's basically tell us what the conditions must have been for this observation to have even occurred. So when he gets back, we'll introduce it for the benefit of the audience. And hopefully he'll have some predictive from his model that we can look at and compare to what it actually is and see how close he is.
It's kind of a bit of fun in a way, because it's, testing the capabilities of a pseudoscience model. So it's not really shape of the Earth related in that regard. I mean, we're just looking at what a model does. So, a bit of fun.
For us.
Yeah.
Back.
Yeah, he's here now.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
Morning, Rumpus, or afternoon even.
Afternoon.
Thanks for turning up. I didn't think you actually would, if I'm honest.
I stick to my word.
Good. Well, credit is given. Credit is noted. So let's just get straight into it, if it's all right with everybody else. Let's deal with the topic on hand.
Yeah, that's good.
Back in the debates from, say, 75, 76 onwards, up to about 90, we spent a lot of time discussing the ins and outs of the Isle of Man footage. And throughout the discussions, there was a common theme that there were two main questions against me, which was, why didn't you take it from on the beach? And why did you go on a hill? And obviously the point for that one would be to see it in the first place. Now, obviously, at the time, I didn't know what I was taking a picture of, and we spent a lot of time on Mackle Lighthouse and indeed on the floaty land. And the argument was, well, if the Earth was flat, you'd be able to get this footage from the beach. So I was challenged by Mark Taylor and a couple of other people in text, which I couldn't find the text messages from the chats where they were because you have to troll through all the hangouts. But there were numerous people challenging me to get the same observation from the beach. So I went back about a week ago and I did exactly that. I lay on my belly on the beach, took the footage of the floaty land, and I told Rumpus that I had it and I wanted Rumpus to tell me what the conditions would be necessary to document and demonstrate and explain how we would get this floaty land from lying on the beach on the sand, literally lying on the sand. Previously, I'd said that it was at the 35 feet elevation, which turned out to be about 75, 80, I think it was. Can't remember exactly. But the challenge was how low can you get it? And I never really considered it as a realistic possibility because we know that there's effects at the horizon that are both optical, refractive, and stuff that we can't really predict. It's difficult to understand, but I never really considered it to be something that was attainable because of the obstructions at the horizon, which are argued to be curvature. So when I spoke to Rumpus, I said, look, I've got that floaty land from the beach. I said, I don't want to give you, I'll give you the date, but I'm not going to give you the time because I want you to tell me what the weather would have been on that day necessary to get the effects that we got. So he didn't get to see it and I didn't tell him the time. And the challenge was to tell me what the effects would need to be to document the amount of refraction necessary to indeed observe what we should not be able to see on a ball. The land sits on average between 200 and 300 feet tall, and the peak tippy tops of it.
Hello.
Yeah, the
Hi,
link's
Numi.
not public yet. The peak tippy tops of it are about 315 feet, but the bulk majority of the land sits around about 250-ish. And I've been able to successfully capture all of that 250ness, and it seems to be significantly more than what I had before. We haven't analysed it specifically, but go on. But the question is, in what circumstances would we be able to see this if the Earth were a ball? Because it should be behind 700 feet of curvature, and that's not accounting for the refraction maths. That's the geometric curve. Now, I know that you've got a refraction argument, but what would the conditions be necessary to demonstrate that they would be similar? And essentially, that's where we're at. What would the weather be? So the facts are, I got the floaty land of about 250 to 300 feet from the beach lay on my belly. However, it should be behind 700 feet of Earth curve. So over to Rumpus. Let's hear what you've got to say.
Oh, well, let's have the images first.
Well, the idea is that you tell us what the prediction would be. You'd need to see the prediction because I don't want you to change your story.
I believe we can account for it.
Okay.
But obviously, I've got to see your observer height. I've got to see where you are to be absolutely sure to give my model. But I believe I can account for it, given what you've told me so far. But
would you at least put on screen like the page by page so we just flick through it quickly so we can, because I want you to commit to a position and then not change it. So if you don't want to explain it now, I don't mind showing you, but I want to see your answers first, if not the explanation.
Our position is that we, Philip and I, have using this modeling we've been doing over the last few weeks. We believe we can account for what you claim, though. We believe we can account for you seeing. I mean, the only thing you've told me is that you can see the very tops of the the hills on the northern part of the Isle of Man. And that you were near the shoreline. That's the only information, and you told me the date. That's the only information you've given to me so far.
Well, I told you that we had the floaty land.
Yeah. Well, yes, okay. The hill. That's right. When you said the floaty land, you mean I'm describing that as the hills of the northern part of the Isle of Man. Is that correct?
Well, that which was documented in the video that we were all
discussing. The hill. Yeah, the hills around Bride.
Not the peaks. We're getting all of the land that is.
All of that. Okay. I didn't understand. Okay. Right. Well, I mean, okay, you haven't made it absolutely clear what you could see. I thought you were just saying you could see the tops of the hills around Bride, in effect, or the area on the northern thing. But
Does-
you didn't show me a picture, so I didn't know the extent to which what you could see or what.
Well, I referred to it as floaty land, didn't I? And
Well,
the
yeah,
floaty
but
land-
that can mean anything.
Anthony,
Sure.
can you present the picture so everybody can see what?
Yeah, but I
we're
want
talking
Rumpus. Can you put
Well,
on?
I'm gonna say we can account using our refraction model for what I believe the conditions and your position was.
Forget. Well, okay. Well, I'm not interested in the position. But what I would
Well,
like
I mean,
to
your
see is-
observer height, for instance. We're taking a 1 meter observer height, and
Okay.
I believe, and I've got some. Well, I could quickly, I could
I did
show
tell you
you.
I was on the sand though, lay on my belly, right?
Yeah, you said a lot of things in the past. They've not proved to be true, but I mean, or accurate. I mean, I could. What could I could show you because we obtained the. I mean, I could give you a little intro about how we've done the modelling. Let me. Yeah, perhaps I'll.
So, can you just explain that bit, maybe? So you
Yeah,
said
okay.
modelling.
I'll explain the background. This is a bit. I'm a little bit reluctant to provide you with this quite significant content, but I suppose I could.
Well, it's just because I wanted to make the statements and stand by it, and then I'll show
Okay,
you.
well, yeah, well, okay. I must admit, we just obtained some of the hill peaks. In fact, we drew a rendering. We ended up with a rendered anything, but it was just so slight that we didn't bother to finish off rendering because we just demonstrated we could see the peaks around Bride. But let me just. I'll do a quick intro of. I'm being a bit generous here, but okay. I'll tell you what. I'll do a quick background to it of what we've done. Okay, I could do that, and then I could show you the conditions that we believe pertained for your situation. Perhaps I could do that. So if I share my screen.
Let me know when you're ready.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I should be sharing now.
Yep, you're up.
Right. So this is going to be a small snippet of a proper debunk I'm going to be doing on Gem Pandas on my channel in a few days' time, but they can give you some snippets of it. Okay. So this is that obviously you'll know where you were. And we're modeling it, and we've created this refraction model, which is quite sophisticated. It's not many things you'll find. There's nothing on the internet. Mick West is trying to do something similar, but he hasn't quite got to the level we're doing. We're actually taking the topographical data of the Isle of Man, like Chris Monk actually did this. He actually managed to obtain the topographical data. He got LiDAR data. We're using the shuttle data. And to check that our model works, we compared it against Anthony's image from last autumn, the 21st of the 10th, sorry, that should be 27th, sorry. 27th of the 10th thing that Anthony did from an observer height of 35 meters. We checked our model against that, and this model works by taking the temperature that we found out on the day, and then we deduce the temperature profile against height. So we've got height on the left here, and we obtain the temperature for that day and at sea level and other places, and that gave us this sort of refractive index graph against height, and that gives this ray diagram of how the rays from the observer, this is the observer at the right hand side here, this is an exaggerated scale of the Isle of Man, and it demonstrates the rays, and this is the model it came up with. This is our model using of the Isle of Man, showing the what Anthony calls the floaty land to the right, and if there's the composite, and if you compare the two, this is how well our model compares against what Anthony did last October. Let me just get this right. So I'm now overlaying the two models, and so this model up here is being overlaid against the composite, and I will now zoom in, and I will now change the transparency of the top layer, and you will see there that it is almost absolute. But what's more, very sophisticated. This model is so sophisticated that it actually copes with the inversion layer, what you call the mirror layer. So you can see it actually copes with the inversion layer there, and Here as well, you can see over here, it's almost an exact match, and it actually gives you the inversion layer here, the same images. So we verified that this model works. And
So sorry, just to clarify, Rumpus, that's the existing. That's nothing to do with the new prediction.
correct.
Right? Okay.
I'm demonstrating that our model works given the temperature information that we obtained. And I'm really treating you here. This is mega content for the situation that occurred on the 27th of October last year. From this information we obtained, and we then generated that model, and it compares exactly with the image that Anthony took with his camera. Then for the spring observation for the 24th, bloody 21st. Why have I written that? God, I'm not getting my dates
Don't worry.
right.
Don't worry.
21st of the 4th. This is the observation that Anthony's just made. And this, in these conditions, we have spring conditions where instead of before, we had in the autumn, you tend to have warm water and cold air. We've got different conditions where we've got a warm sea, a cold sea and warm air, which means you have this temperature configuration. And we've actually managed to obtain 4 plots at different heights, which compares with that profile you can see there.
So just clarify what you said. What was that about warm sea, cold sea? Just
right. In the autumn, you will tend to have a warm sea and cold air because the heat capacity of the sea means that it lags behind the atmospheric conditions. So in the autumn, you tend to have air that is colder than the sea that it's over. And then you get this sort of shape, and then that leads to the inversions, the sort of inferior mirages. But in the spring, so you compare get the blue diagram. This is the blue. They don't compare the blue one with the blue one. Don't compare. That is the refractive index. Reluctant to show you much of this. And this is what. And so if you compare that with the blue line up here, which is what Anthony was looking at in the autumn of last year, this is the temperature profile we've obtained from observations of people, and actually got it down to 20 centimeters and a meter off the surface. And this is a very different profile, which leads to this refractive index profile, which gives you this ray diagram, which I may go into later, which gives you access to the tops of the land of the northern part of the Isle of Man.
Just for our benefit, Rumpus, if you on the bottom diagram, which part is actually visible?
Right. The green lines show you what is visible. The blue lines are lines of bent that are hitting the sea, and so all the green lines show you what you can actually see. And in fact, I'm going to make one prediction for Anthony, that he should not get any inversion layers. Anyway, I think I said enough.
Okay,
so what's the maximum elevation that you would be able to see?
Just one last question, Rumpus. Do you have the opposite of what you have from 90 degrees. Do you have a side elevation?
That is a side elevation.
No. I mean, so you're looking through the land. So you have St. Bees on the right and the Isle of Man on the left.
That's right. That's what that ray diagram was.
Yeah, sure. Do you have the opposite so we can see how much we see from left to right through the pan?
I haven't bothered. I'm not going to show you that because we don't believe I had quite enough detail, but we believe that will show you the I haven't got a comparison with obviously haven't got anything to compare it against. Like I showed you, the model we've got gives you an exact match on Anthony's last year's observations, but I don't have anything to compare against.
Okay, I mean, maybe if I phrase it slightly differently. So what's the lowest elevation of the tops of those peaks that you can see, according to your diagram?
Well, actually, it does suggest, our ray diagram suggests that it might, given these very special conditions that Anthony had, you might even be able to see quite close to the beach.
That's not what you said a second ago.
Gee.
That's exactly how did you manage to get that wrong? I never mentioned any comment about how much you
jump down Rumpus's throat. Just if you can
you said you could see the
reclarify.
peak.
All right, sorry, yes, but yes, we
clarify,
believe.
please.
Okay, that's okay, right. Yeah, there is a possibility.
By the peaks, you meant the beach.
No, actually, I did mean the peaks. On the northern part, I believed you would be able to see the peaks, but there is a possibility that you may even be able to see further down than that. Given we don't know the exact conditions, it's surprising given the conditions that Anthony took his thing in. What you can see is quite a lot more than I would have expected.
Well, yeah, this is
I
very
mean, I'll
vague.
go into more details, but I'd probably...
Sorry, just give it me in feet.
Yeah, can you put some numbers on this?
Well, I'd like to make that claim. That's not for Rumpus to do. I want to make that claim. So let me deal with the number side of it according to the model that they tell us that they work from.
Sorry to interrupt you, Angie. I'd like to point this is in contradiction, of course, to the model, the metabunk model, because this is much more sophisticated than the 7/6 R calculation or the metabunk model.
Okay.
Although Mick West is actually trying to do a proper refraction-based, ray trace-based thing, he hasn't done that yet, but his 7/6 surveyor's correction would not give you the peaks of the northern part of the island that Anthony claims he's seen, but this sophisticated analysis does give that.
Rumpus, I need to ask you one specific question. If you could pull up your side profile of the ray tracing that you've plotted.
Okay.
Now, which direction of travel is the light going?
This is a ray tracing diagram. It's actually determined by considering rays actually leaving the eye and going to the island. But of course, that doesn't happen.
Right.
But that's the way the algorithm works. But the way obviously in real life it works is the other way. But the way you work out what your eye will see is you actually effectively do an Aristotle and actually throw light rays out of your eye and then see what they hit.
Would you agree that goes completely against what the science is, because the light's meant to go into your eye, not from your eye?
Right. If you knew anything about ray tracing, you would know this is how you do it.
No, I understand.
No, you don't. If you may ask that question you just asked, you don't understand.
It appears that you've got the light going the opposite way around.
That's the way you calculate ray tracing. That's how you do ray tracing. You're not familiar with this at all, and that's a problem you've got.
I understand, but
you don't understand. You wouldn't have asked that question if you understood about ray tracing.
Hold on, Anthony. Can you just re-clarify what your objection is? Because I don't follow.
All right. The light from the sun bounces off the tippy tops.
Sorry, bear with me.
From the tippy tops into your eye.
Hold on, Anthony. Hold on. Anthony, can you just pop your screen back up, Rumpus, just so we can get a visual idea of what the issue is here? Okay. Sorry.
And this is very nice technique, this Rumpus, by the way. This is right. So the light comes from the sun. It bounces off the landmass on the model, and from the landmass it bounces into your eye. So the direction of travel in the
that's exactly what happens in physical terms. But the way to calculate it is that you see, if you did that, imagine you did it that way. Let's imagine this point on the top of the mountain here. You would have to consider all of the light emerging in all directions, and then you'd have to see if any of those light rays hit your eye down here.
That's right.
Now that means you'd have to consider millions and millions and millions of different angles, and you'd have to do that for each point. There's a much more efficient way of doing it, and that is by considering a particular angle from your eye and then seeing what it hits, but it gives the same result. If you knew anything about ray tracing, you would not have asked the question you did. You obviously do not know anything about ray tracing. I'm using a technique that is used to render things correctly and is used as an industrial standard way of doing things. So the fact you're confused by that, I'm afraid, is your problem.
No, I'm not confused. I understand.
Well, you are confused. You're effectively saying that that's.
Okay,
I think
no
you're
worries.
implying that what we've done is
No worries.
invalid.
Let's just move
because
on.
Of the way the angle
okay, fine, Rumpus. Fine. Let's just move on.
Yeah, I just wanted people to be aware that the light's the opposite way around in his diagram. That was all. So, with regards to the sea, can you tell me what did you say that this in spring? Did you say that the sea would be cold and the air would be warm? Is that what you said?
Correct.
So, can you help me with calibrating what my perception is? Because if the sea's cold and the air's warm, how much warmer would it need to be so that you would be able to account for this?
I showed you that in that diagram. I gave you the. I showed you. I suppose I could show you again.
So if I use the word hot,
hold on, Anthony. Hold on. Give him a minute. He's just going to bring his graph up. Just pause. Just take your time. Just let him bring his graph up first.
the conditions that give, these are the temperature conditions we found for the 21st of the 4th, this few week ago, for using meteorological stations and someone who actually got to within on the sea shore and measured it a meter and 10 centimeters up. And that is the profile we have obtained using the data.
So based on that graph, then the prediction would be that at a 0 height, which is basically I was less than a foot off the water, but we can argue over it. It definitely wasn't a meter, but we'll go with 0. The nearest value I can see to 0 would be 8 degrees temperature, right?
Yes, I think it was at 8.5 or something.
So if we round it up to 9,
8.8, I think it might be 8.8 or something.
Okay, so if we go with 9, just to give, so basically we're looking for a temperature of around about 9. Now, at 9 degrees, would you what time of the day would you say that this must be therefore taken at?
I'm given the fact that you did not furnish me with that information, I'm not going to tell you.
That's the whole point of the challenge. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm prepared to take. I'm prepared to do what I want to do, and I found conditions on that day that do this. And if Anthony's not prepared, I didn't accept this challenge as a thing. I've been very considerate, I think, in considering all the possible days. If he'd wanted this to be a proper challenge, he'd have said, "Here's the time I was doing it."
No, we're testing the predictive capabilities of your model. So your pseudoscience has to stack up and show what time it would be. That's the challenge.
Well, I didn't say I was going to take it. I've produced data that I believe exists on that day.
Is this a
that
fail?
gives the conditions.
Can we chalk this up as a fail then? You failed to predict it using your model.
We predict that Anthony would be able to see what he. Well, he haven't told what he's about.
So let me get this straight. You're going to call it a win because you've declared now that you've predicted it. That's what you're going to do. Whereas we've actually challenged you, giving you the day, specific day that it happened on, even though you couldn't quite get that right in your presentation. You managed to get an error there. But let's just brush past that error that you got in your presentation about the actual day that you were given. The challenge was for you to predict the time that this would have to be taken.
Nathan, allow me. Rumpus, we've just looked at, it was around about 9 degrees. What temperature did you get for the day in question?
The air temperature.
Yeah. You've made the prediction.
Yes, the air temperature at 40 meters above sea level was 14.5.
It's not 9 though, is it?
No, it's not. 9 is at the sea level. How are you not listening to what I'm saying? It's 9 at the sea level and 14.5 at 40 meters above sea level.
So what temperature did you measure at sea level?
Oh my God.
Well, no,
9. Jesus Christ.
Sorry, you measured it at 9. Sorry, hold on, Anthony. Let's just. He's saying you measured it at 9 at sea level. So can we see that? Hold on. How do you get that measurement, Rumpus?
From meteorological weather stations. We've got 4 data points from meteorological weather stations for that day.
Right, can you show me the one that measured 9 degrees at sea level, please?
Yeah, that's
9 degrees at sea level.
We need to see the evidence that shows what the temperature was that day.
I'll be presenting that in either my Hangout or Gem Panda's later.
So does that mean you haven't got it?
I have got it.
Can we see it?
No.
Oh, right. Well, we'll chalk that up to a complete fail on Rumpus's part. His model doesn't predict these things, otherwise he'd simply show us. Right, Rumpus? You'd show us if you had it, but you don't. So you're going to save it till after you've seen the information, correct?
Yeah.
I have got the data, and you can. But the point is, you can go.
Show it. Let's not muck around anymore. Let's just see it.
Check it. You can check it.
Rumpus, the idea was that you were going to make the prediction based on your model, and that would involve showing what that prediction related to.
Well, I will be doing that.
So let's see your prediction. Let's see your prediction.
You don't deserve it, Nathan.
Oh, well then, sod off. What the hell are you even doing here? If I don't deserve it, then your model is garbage. If you think that you have to be a worthy idolater in order to see your model, that's absolutely pathetic. Am I not worthy of your globe model, you pathetic little worm?
Hang on. Let's.
Here we go. This is it. This sort of behaviour.
Apparently, we're not worthy to see it, according to Rumpus. You have been challenged to come up with a time. So,
Dave, come on.
Either you present it or you sod off.
I'll tell you what. I'll type in here the time.
This isn't a magic trick, Rumpus. Just tell us.
Anthony refused to provide me with basic information about these conditions, so
he told you the day.
I shouldn't really be providing you with this valuable content.
That's not true. I gave you the date.
No, this is the start, Anthony. This is the start of the obfuscation by Rumpus. That's what this is.
Stop. Let me interject a little bit. we need to be nicer with Rumpus on the one hand, because I do want to get the prediction off him. I want to see what the evidence that supports this prediction is, and then I want to present it.
Right,
I
but
want him
but
to
actually,
be here and-
I won't. I'll be the data.
Yeah, he's stuttering around it because he's saying he won't do that, Anthony. That's the point. He's saying, no, I won't do that. You're not worthy.
Yeah, you're not worthy to receive.
Right, so if we're not worthy of your idolatry, of your globe model, sod off and present it to your Circle Jerk audience on
I
Jen
will.
Panda's channel.
Your behaviour does not merit my giving you all the data.
Well,
I've
then
given
go
you more
away.
than I should have
What are you
done
even
already.
doing here? If our behaviour doesn't warrant it, then take it to your Circle Jerk audience
I will.
on Jen Panda's channel. Off you go.
Sounds like
Bye-bye.
you're backing away
Thanks for
from
being
the
here.
challenge.
Oh, not at all. I
Thank you
don't
for
know.
presenting us with your absolute nonsense, your pseudoscience. Thank you for that, Rumpus. It proves absolutely nothing. It is a total fail on your model's part if you are refusing to show us the actual predictions.
I've told you.
You've given us nothing. You've been challenged for something
I've
specific.
showed you
We'd
the
like
graphs.
that specific thing, please.
Yeah.
I showed you the graphs, and we found on the day those points on the graph are available if you wish to research it yourself. But I will provide.
Sorry, now we're being challenged to research it ourselves. So Rumpus has been given a challenge, now he's telling us to go out and research it ourselves. None of what he presented looked anything globe-shaped to me. Looked like a load of graphs, nothing modelled on Earth, nothing to do with Earth, just pseudoscience and numbers. So yeah, Rumpus, you failed. If you don't want to give us your prediction, you failed.
I've given a prediction.
You haven't
No,
given us
you're right.
anything.
But what we're asking you is, you've said that the elevation was a certain temperature at a certain elevation,
Yes.
and we worked out that it was going to be around about 9 degrees. Now, what I want you to
No, hold on. You seem to be forgetting the sea level temperature
Yeah.
is going to be about 9 degrees.
Right. So what I want you to produce is what evidence do you have on the day in question that A was 9 and B, what time of the day would it be?
Right. I will be presenting that further detailed. I've already given you more than I should have done, I feel, given the Nathan's behaviour.
No, but the point of a prediction is, I mean,
Yeah, but I'm not prepared to indulge him to the level. I mean, he's been so obnoxious over the last.
Okay,
few
so
years.
you're backing down.
If Rumpus wants to blame my being obnoxious for his failure in his model, that's perfectly acceptable by me. I don't mind. Blame me for your model's failure, Rumpus. I don't mind. I'll take it on the chin. It's because of me, lads. It's my fault. Rumpus's model failed because of me.
Just listen. I don't want Rumpus to leave. I don't want him to get kicked. But I do want you to make the prediction, and you've made the prediction on the graph. But what I want you to now demonstrate is what the evidence is on that day, because I'm sure you must have done it.
Absolutely. Anthony, do you understand that if I were to tell you a lie now or something, which is what you're sort of implying,
no,
you would be able to.
No, you're withholding evidence.
Hold on. Let me finish my sentence. And Arwen, stop interrupting. And Anthony, if I were to tell you something that was untrue now, you would eventually be able to go and check it against the actual meteorological data and then show to me you were telling lies, Rumpus.
But that's what I'm asking you to show.
Yeah, but do you not understand that I couldn't possibly tell you a fib because I know that I will get caught out? So I will be presenting you with full sources for this. But I'd have to, because if I told you something was a fib now, I'd get caught out. So it'd be completely idiotic of me to present you with invalid data.
But you made the prediction based on the elevation and the temperature profile that
correct.
it should be around about 9 degrees.
At the sea level.
That's the prediction. Yeah, and I was at sea level.
It's not a prediction. That's the experimental data we obtained.
Right. But what I'm asking you now is to show the proof that the 9 degrees that you've predicted was even attainable on the day. And if so, at what time?
Right. Well, I do have a time for that, and I do have the station.
I want to see the evidence, though.
Yeah, I know you want to see it, Anthony, but I've already provided this channel with more information than I think it deserves. And
No. Let's not be blackmailed by you. If you don't want to present the data that you've been challenged to present, that's fine, Rumpus. You don't have to. No one's going to make you. I don't feel unworthy of your crappy data from your pseudoscience model. So no, if you want to blackmail us by simply providing what you've actually been challenged with, just makes you a disingenuous failure. Just shows that you will have some slippery explanation for why the temperatures come out to 14 degrees, but you claim it's lower at sea level and you cannot prove it. That will be the case. That will all be the case. Check it out on the Circle Jerk that is Jen Panda's channel.
Up with solid meteorological.
Nathan, did you hear what he just said then in the background? He said, if I present that evidence, I'll get caught out.
Is that what he said?
That. Yeah, no.
You actually have the
All right, let me say this again. Let me say this again. Yes, but Arwin,
not model-based ideas, but actual proof of this. And if you're going to basically
the temperature data, yes.
speculate about it, or you're going to tell lies, then yes, we're going to call you out on
Exactly.
it.
So it'd be very
But
silly
this is
of
why
me,
you're being
wouldn't it, to
slippery.
present you with temperature data that you could easily refute. So it'd be very silly of me to do
Let's
that.
see us refute it
might
then.
It would be very
So
silly
let's
of you
see us
to present
refute it.
data
That's the point,
just
Rumpus.
not
That's
true.
the point. We want to see your data fail.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
You want
It's about whether your prediction matches the evidence available for the day
Right.
in question.
Well, Anthony, this data is available
Anthony,
to you.
just show whether or not you can prove it was 9 degrees, and if so, what time.
And I'm not prepared to give you that information.
Yep, total failure. That's all right. We know you failed.
Great, well, I'm happy. You don't deserve that level of detail.
Yeah, you're going to tell us about your idolatry and whether or not we're worthy of again. Yeah, you religious zealot. I'm not interested in whether or not we're worthy to see your idol, your model.
I'm not interested in whether you're interested.
What does
well, then go
deserve
away.
have to do with it?
Yeah, it's about. It's not about.
This is very
All
valuable
right,
content.
this is just,
What
like I
this
said,
work
when
is
I
really-
marked the beginning of this obfuscation, that's all it was, the beginning of his failure. He's failed already. He failed. I've pointed it out. You failed.
Not me. This what I've done here is very significant work, and I'm not prepared to present it.
It's like it's a secret, right? It's a secret in a
No, it's
hidden
not. No,
box,
I mean,
and nobody can look at it unless
I
you're a
will.
globe
No,
believer,
no,
right?
Arwin, I would be presenting it in a more suitable arena later today or
Oh
tomorrow.
yeah, well I bet some of us are going to actually watch that, and then
Well, don't watch it then. Fine. I mean, I've got a rock solid.
I'm not going to
case.
watch
It's all
your
right.
stuff.
He thinks he's got a rock solid case and he hasn't even seen the evidence yet. We're testing the predictive capabilities of his model and he's not prepared to show it. That's the bottom line here. It's a total fail.
It doesn't really matter where he presents it.
Let's just make
matters
it concise.
if he's going
Hold
to
on,
actually
Arwin.
present
Hold
it.
on, Arwin.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's just make it concise. His model cannot make predictions. It fails.
Yeah.
It's made a prediction that Anthony will be able to see.
But you've not substantiated your prediction with the evidence to prove your prediction is credible.
That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely priceless. So it is a complete and total fail. Your model doesn't match what they actually publish on the Metabunk site. You've done the calculations, and then when you get it to work mathematically, it doesn't actually match reality. What
You'll
a
be able
shock.
to check that, Nathan. You'll be able to check that.
Well, let's see it then.
Sure, we will
Let's check
eventually.
it.
Yeah, we'll
Let's
do
check it
I-
right
Just
now.
like we will eventually go to
I'll give
space.
you
won't
links.
we?
I will be
Eventually.
providing links where you'll be able to go to it directly. I will be providing links exactly to where the
Will be. You've been challenged to provide them right here and right now. You won't because they're a fail and you know we'll pick that
No,
apart.
I just don't feel like giving you that.
You just don't feel like it. Yeah, you've come on. You've dedicated your time to actually doing the research. You've given us the data. You just won't show where it fails, which is the actual evidence stage, the proof of your model, the actual adherence to the temperatures you say it should be. You can't show that, and you will fail when we find out that you can't predict a 9-degree temperature at any time of the day. And if you do, it'll probably be wrong.
I've been 100% right about every prediction.
So make
I've
sure
ever
you're right
I've
now
ever made on this
and show
channel,
us.
And you've been 100% wrong. So I'm.
You have been 100% failed. You have failed 100% to
No, I just don't
produce
choose.
a
I don't think
prediction
you're worthy
from
of
your
my
model.
comment, my input here.
No,
Up
we're
to
not-
the level you
We're
want.
not worthy
Fail.
of your religious ramblings, Rumpus.
If
Yeah.
you want to put it that
Either
way,
you
Owen,
present actual facts, actual
Owen,
sources
you-
right
you
here,
don't-
and
you
we
don't
will
understand
redeem
them.
you for it. We will
Owen,
actually
you
tell
don't
you, wow,
understand.
you actually
All right,
provided
let
some
me- let me
real
ask you-
data.
Let me respond.
We will
Rumpus.
give you credit.
You've
if
seen the
it's-
graph. You've
Rumpus.
seen my graph of what that experimental data is, and you've seen it, and it's recorded now. So you could actually go and check it. It's not like I can take that back.
I agree, but
Wowee.
Rumpus, tell me this. If you're not prepared to do it now, and you're going to do it on your own channel instead, or wherever, when are you going to do it on your channel?
Within the next day or two, probably Sunday, but
Okay.
possibly Gem Panda tonight. I don't know. I've yet to decide
Okay,
exactly
well,
when.
I'll do you a deal. Once you've presented it, then I'll show the public release the video, and you can see the results.
Oh
That
no,
sound
I'm
fair?
going to do it after. No, I'm going to do it after you've presented your thing.
No.
Yeah, but
What
Anthony,
a
I
total
can't
fail. It's designed to make predictions, your model, right? Not match up with the actual observed evidence. We're asking you for its predictive capabilities, Rumpus, not after it's come out. How do you predict this should work? That's what your model should do. Even your pseudoscience is a total fail.
I've made a prediction that Anthony, given the conditions, I've worked out those conditions.
I've given a prediction too. Given the conditions, it demonstrates that the Earth is flat. I've made a prediction too. I'll just spout it out there with absolutely no evidence to back it. I'll just state it, like Rumpus does. You can make predictions. I can make predictions too. I predicted that you'd fail. You did.
I predicted he wouldn't turn up.
Yeah, well, there we go. So
Well, okay, this is what I'll do, Rumpus. I'll wait for you to make your public declaration of the conditions necessary with the evidence that goes to support it.
Anthony, I have made the prediction. I've told you.
Yeah, but you haven't presented the evidence.
Yeah, but hold on. You're not checking up. You're asking me to make a prediction. I've told. Oh, and please don't interrupt when I'm responding to when I'm trying to respond.
Your stutter is so telling.
Yeah, your stutter's boring. We don't want to hear your obfuscation anymore, Rumpus. All you're doing is obfuscating the fact that you won't show us the prediction of your model.
Anthony, I have made a prediction about the sea temperature and the air temperature.
Yeah.
For the condition. So I've done that. That has been a solid prediction I've made.
Yeah.
So that's,
was it right?
That's my model.
Was it right? Was your prediction right?
It's only half.
No, that's based on the data.
No. Just tell us. Was it right or not?
The prediction is based on the data. We have obtained the data.
Was it right?
The data is 9 degrees.
Was it right? Did you get it right?
Until I've seen Anthony's video, I can't compare it, can I?
What a total fail.
What a total fail. He will be able to see the Isle of Man, Northern Ireland.
This is brilliant. Not even your pseudoscience works.
I can't do much more.
Win the golden medal for mental gymnastics.
No, I've told you what the sea temperature. If you can show the sea temperature is not what I have
oh, that's great. So can you prove it? Let's see your proof of that then.
If you can show that my...
I already know what you've got. You've got 14 degrees. You've already told us. You slipped it in surreptitiously. 14 degrees is what you'll get, right? And then you'll extrapolate it down on Gem Panda's show without us there to criticise you. You pathetic weasel. This is priceless. So 14 degrees is what you've already said on this show. That's all we can take. Now all you're going to do is show graph after graph after graph and obfuscate and talk over. Because that's all you've got. You're a total failure, Rumpus.
You're privileged to see this graph.
No, I'm not privileged. I don't feel humbled. I don't feel in the slightest bit humbled by your garbage model.
Here is the data.
Yeah. Your model is just your idol. That's all it is. That's all it is. It's just an idol.
Nathan, can I just let everybody in chat know that when you were talking and you'd muted the back chat, his words were, and I quote, "If I reveal that data, you'll catch me out." That's what he actually said.
I didn't say that. No, you
literally said that.
No, I didn't. No, you misheard me.
Yes, you did twice.
You misheard me.
No, I didn't.
So what did you say? Hold on, Arwen, Sleeping Warrior, hold on.
I'm presenting it now.
Hold on.
So here you go.
What did you say?
Then, come on. There's my data.
Hold on, Rumpus.
That's your prediction.
You seem to have that problem again. OCD. Get some Adderall.
Go on, catch me out then.
Calm down, Rumpus. Take a breath. It's all good.
Right, there's my data. Anthony misrepresented me, and
I'm
happy I've
there.
there.
Calm down,
there's
Rumpus.
my graph.
It's all going to be okay.
Graph.
Just calm down. Take a little breath.
What time of the day was that that temperature in play?
I'm not telling you.
Right. I'm not telling you. My model doesn't work. You'll catch me out if you know the data. If you find out the temperature doesn't match what we predicted, we'll look very stupid.
Well, now I'll quote the sentence exactly. I said, "You will be able to catch me out if I've told a fib," is what I said. But Arwen can't hear, and neither can Anthony, apparently. I said, if I've told a fib, you will be able to catch me out. And there, I've presented the graph. I can't go back on it. And if you can prove that's wrong, there we go. And my model will be wrong.
That's part of it. But if you don't tell us the time of the day when that happened, then you haven't made the prediction.
I have Anthony, no, I have made the prediction. I predict you'll be able to see the mountains using experimental data we've obtained.
Sorry, that's what you were told. You were told that you could see them in the observation, you absolute retard. So your prediction is what he told you. Wow, you're a genius. Give that man the Nobel Prize, Nummy. You're right.
My model predicts
what you've been told already.
And my model predicts it as well.
Wow, you've been told it already, you absolute moron.
And I can show the radar gram.
Sorry, Anthony, can you just confirm what I'm saying is correct? He had already been told this.
Yes, and I can show...
Right, so your model is useless for predicting things unless you actually give us a prediction. And then show that it matches what actually happened in reality. That's what your model is supposed to be doing here. It's demonstrating its predictive capabilities.
And it predicted exactly what the composite showed that Anthony took last autumn, and it got...
Who cares? We're talking about something that you haven't been shown, but you have been detailed what it contains.
So, Nathan, what prediction would I have been able to come up with would have satisfied you? I've come up with a prediction...
One that matches with the weather data and the time that you haven't given us.
That's not a prediction,
of course it is.
Nathan.
That's exactly what it is.
Data we took to
That's
get
exactly what it is. You are a moron.
Right, hang on. Right, so
You're being a wanker, Nathan, as usual, and this is why you don't deserve my input.
Right, well, we've got to the
Deserve
point
what? We
where
haven't been given your
you've given us
prediction.
the graph.
You
for which I'm
predicted that
grateful,
you can see
thankful, and I
something.
thank
He's
you for
told
it.
you
And
you can
I'm
already
not-
see.
You do not believe how valuable that is. What I've done there for you is something you should be.
Worthless.
Nathan doesn't appreciate, but he's a
Worthless
wanker.
pseudoscience.
But it's in
Absolutely
fact
worthless. This is
amazingly
just a
useful,
folly.
academic,
Proves
valuable
nothing.
data.
Proves absolutely nothing. It's just a folly.
Oh, okay, you can ignore it. It's valuable data, and we'll
No,
be
it's not.
showing
Pseudoscience.
observation.
Valuable
No, it's
data
just a model. It's
missing
just pseudoscience.
certain
It's not proving
parameters that
anything.
you later want to insert.
Right.
You could
Isn't
go
it?
and check it. Hey, Arwin, your little brain can go and check this data yourself.
Okay, well,
I'll be
is
providing you with links
right,
later.
Rumpus. Would you let me respond to the
Withholding
bit?
data. You're withholding data that you
Yes,
later
I am.
want to
Yes,
insert.
yes, I am.
So
Yeah.
let me respond. Nathan, would you mind
So
sharing?
it's
it with me?
incomplete. It's not
No,
a
it's not. The
complete
prediction-
prediction.
The
He hasn't made any
prediction is that
predictions.
he will
He's
be able to.
predicted what he's been told already by Anthony and said, I predict that we'll be able to see stuff. Yet that's precisely what you've been told already. We're asking at what temperature, at what time. That's what you're being asked to predict.
I don't predict the time. My model.
I'll just
predicts
predict
what you
whatever I
will see.
like. Just wait until you actually show me the observation and then I'll make it work with the maths. Right, Rumpus?
Exactly. You're withholding data to
Yes,
adapt
but it's not the
your
prediction, is it,
model.
Owen? Your
again.
small brain hasn't worked out the
Change
difference
it
between the
again. We
data and the
constantly-
prediction.
we constantly change it.
You don't understand the difference between the prediction and the data upon which it's based because
And
you're
was your prediction correct, Rumpus? Did you get it right?
But the graph is
and
incomplete.
you will be able to check.
Did
the
you get
data
it
when I
right,
do
You're
it.
not
Rumpus?
presenting the data.
Hold on,
I will
Arwen.
be able- I
Did
will be
your
providing links
prediction
to it.
get it right?
I will be providing links to that data.
Is that a
at
no?
later stage.
Is that a no? Is that a I haven't been able to match up reality with my prediction, Rumpus?
Nope.
No, that's
Perfect.
what I thought. No, total fail. So it hasn't matched. Yeah, I already knew it. You'd fail.
I can mathematically justify.
I can show you this
what
mathematically at a
Anthony has
later
been
date when you can't pick it apart and point that it doesn't match reality. Yes, we know, Rumpus. That's why you're not showing it.
My model predicts what Anthony has seen.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
But
you
we
were
just
told.
can't really
That's not a
backtrack.
prediction if you've already been told it. You're not exactly Mystic Meg if you're told something and then you repeat it back.
My mathematical model predicts what Anthony has seen.
You were told
His
that
predict-
already. How many times
But
have you got to
nonetheless,
say
the
it?
maths
That's
that we-
not the prediction we were asking for, Mystic Meg. What part of this don't you understand? We weren't asking you to predict what he was seeing. He told you that.
We can justify it with refraction and our model.
And did it match reality? Did it match
Well, we can only check,
what you
we can only
predicted?
know that for sure when we see Anthony's pictures.
No, the temperature gradient at the time, do those things match what you predicted?
We drew them from the actual physical
Just a yes or
measurements,
no.
so they are based
Did
on
it
the
match?
physical reality.
Did you get it right? Was your prediction correct?
We used physical data we obtained.
I say, was your prediction correct? And you start saying we used physical data, as opposed to absolutely. Our model makes things correct. We have got a correct prediction. He's not saying yes. He's now telling me about the mathematical
You don't
extrapolation
understand
he will do.
what's predicted and what is the experimental.
Did you get your
premises
prediction
for-
right? Yes or no?
Our prediction was that Anthony would be able to see.
Don't tell me what the prediction was. I'll say it again because you're deaf and retarded.
No,
Did
you're
you get your
retarded.
predict? Now you're interrupting.
You don't understand.
I'll
the
say it because
scientific
you can't
method.
hear. I know past experience. Yeah. Did you get
We've
your
used the
prediction
data
correct?
and we're
You're
inputting
talking
it
again.
into our-
Every time I come to ask the question, you want to obfuscate and talk
Okay,
over
carry
me.
on. Okay, Karen, ask the question.
Did you get your prediction correct?
We did not predict the temperature. We predicted what you would see from the temperatures we obtained from meteorological data.
And were they correct?
I can't check that until we see Anthony's images.
No, you can easily check the
Wow.
data for the temperature, can't you now, Rumpus?
Right.
There's loads of sources. We were told earlier about just how many sources there are. So you can get that data. Was it correct?
Well, our model takes in environmental data and
See, that's not a yes. Now you're telling me what your model does. Rather than just giving a simple yes or no about whether your predictive capabilities match reality or not, you're telling me about the predictive capabilities. Did your model get it right, yes or no?
our model predicted what Anthony would see. Therefore, yes.
So it matched reality. You got a 9-degree temperature measurement that you can now show us.
We used the experimental
That's not a
data
yes
that we
or no.
obtained.
Let's ask it again for the deaf, retarded idiot that we now have on the panel that seems to want to obfuscate rather than admit that he didn't get it right.
You're asking me if it was 9 degrees C. Yes, it was. That was
Sorry,
because
so let's
that's
see the evidence of
data
that.
we used.
So show me it. Show me that reading.
No, I won't. Because
No, I won't. Because I haven't got it. That's the bottom line here.
Right, it puts
you're
it
not
into
worthy, Nathan.
Ah, here we go again. As soon as it gets to the point where your toes are held to the fire and we point out that you haven't got a measurement that matches your prediction, you start telling me about how I should worship your idol and how I'm not worthy to know. I need to be more intellectual to know how wrong it is, don't I, Rumpus?
You will be able to see our
Yeah,
model.
you have a good chuckle, mate. You laugh it up. You laugh up just how wrong you've got it. Just how much of a failure your model actually is in this instance.
Our model is marvellous, and I've demonstrated...
Oh, yes, we're not worthy of this amazing model. We are not worthy. All hail the globe model. Hallelujah, I am a believer.
If you were looking earlier at the match between our model and what Anthony showed on the
Not what he's
27th
shown.
of October last year,
He hasn't
the
shown
match was
anything.
fantastic.
He hasn't shown anything in this
fantastic
instance.
model. We have
I
a
don't care how
fantastic
well your
model.
predictions work with the last model that you did get to see, the last observation. It's about this observation. There's a specific challenge been laid down, and you have failed.
Our model has been marvellous in showing...
Oh, wow. In the past, our model's been wonderful, so this time we'll just accept its failure because who cares? Earth's still a sphere. I'm a believer. Everybody go about your business. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about the failure in this instance.
Our model is so good.
Let's get Philip in here. He's a little bit...
No. Let's not get Philip in here yet. Philip can come in afterwards. Can I have a... I want to respond.
Philip can't come in here. He's at some event.
I want to respond. Can I have the mic, please, Rumpus, and let me make the point?
Yeah, go ahead.
Nath, would you mind presenting my screen?
Yep.
All right, so the distance in question to see the land that we're seeing in the evidence that we haven't shown yet. The highest point that we see is this like mound here, and it's like a spine that goes down through Bride, and the highest point is 300 and something feet, and it goes back into the distance, and it sits according to Google Earth at around about 250-ish feet right the way across there at different points. I mean, you can argue the semantics, but if you cross-reference it with the Ordnance Survey map, you can see that 80 and 60.
96 is the highest point.
70, yeah, but the average and we're not looking at the tippy tops, we're looking at the average. But we can see that.
Well, you haven't really made your claim very clear. You said you can see the floating land, but you haven't said how much of it you can see, or just the peaks. I mean, you've been very ambiguous about this.
It's the same as what we can see in the video that was released originally. It's
right. So you're saying you can see exactly the same.
Hang on.
I'm
presenting at the moment. So
okay. All right.
Just wait.
Okay.
So you can see that the values range from 40, 60, 80, and then that's kind of getting towards the highest point that we see, which is 96. But let's go with the 80 and the 60 values because they're the ones that you would expect to see more of because we're not just seeing the tippy tops. 60 multiplied by 3.3, 6, 12, 18, it's about 200 feet. And we see about 200 feet on Google Earth. So it's not that far out. Who cares? It's definitely not plus or minus 30. But we have the distance at 33. We have the approximate height. So we can use their model to predict what's going on here. So when we go to the Metabunk website, which where has it gone? I had it open.
I don't see the relevance of this. I'm sorry, Anthony, but Rumpus has already disclaimed that this is not what we are getting in terms of the effects that he's modelling, and we're testing that. So this seems a bit disingenuous. But by the same token, Rumpus, you've just criticised Anthony for having the exact thing I asked you to show in your model. How much do we see side-on looking head-on from St. Bees rather than a side elevation? And you didn't have that to show. So, yeah, you can't level that criticism at Anthony, my friend.
But bear with me, I'm not going to use the Metabunk one because Rumpus has said that that's not the model as far as this example goes. So we're going to remove the refraction out of it completely.
Well, you'll make it worse then, Anthony. This will be pointless. This will be utterly pointless what you're doing now.
Wait. I'm speaking.
No, hold on, Rumpus. I would rather like to see how much of this stuff we should not see on a sphere.
Yeah, you have to include refraction to do that.
No, we don't. That's what I've just said. I would quite like to see how much of this stuff we should not see on a sphere. I made no mention... Hold on, Rumpus. It's all right. Just
without an atmosphere, I agree.
Take a breath.
We have the observer height at a foot because that's what it was. You can argue 2 or 3 feet, but you're not going any more than a meter. But you can argue as much as you want. When you see the evidence, you'll be satisfied that without digging a hole, I can't get any lower. That is my position, okay?
Okay.
Distance of 33.61 comes from here. So according to the non-atmospheric
Sorry, can you make it
conditions,
bigger?
it
We
should
can't see
sit
that.
behind
Sorry,
700
sorry,
feet.
Anthony, we can't see your calculations. Can you just make it full screen?
Oh,
Scroll
better?
back up to the numbers.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's much better.
The target height should be behind 700 feet of geometric curvature based on the facts that he was given beforehand. So basically, we've got a height of land of 250 to 300 feet, but it should be behind 700 feet. Now, I give him and I grant him that this doesn't account for atmospheric refraction, and I'm not going to mention the word negligible in the interpretation of. However, soundly shows that light bends up as well as down.
No, it doesn't.
And we know the refraction varies continuously throughout the day. So the question became and is what is the prediction on the ball for what time of the day this observation must have been taking place? So if Rumpus has given us that it must have been at around about 9 degrees, that tells me two things. It was either first thing in the morning or it was last thing at night. Because they're the only times you're going to get 9 degrees.
It only varies it only varied by a degree on that day during the day.
Oh, right. So that means it could be any time in the day.
Bad.
Right. So why won't you present that then? Because that doesn't really damage you.
I know it doesn't, but I've already given you 10 times more information than any reasonable person would.
You know, you've given us that 9 degrees. That's the only bit that's important because it's part of the prediction.
Okay, if you think that's the only thing that's
temperature
important.
only varies by 2 degrees that day.
No, I think it's only 1 degree. I could go and check the data, but I think it only varies by about a degree. The sea temperature only varies by about a degree during that day, I think.
Oh yeah, the sea temperature is pretty constant. I'm on about
that's what I'm talking. And that's what the 9 degrees is referencing. If you recall from my graph, there's the sea temperature and then there's the air temperature. It's the gradient of that.
Could you pull that back up because that looked like we were talking about the air temperature? Could you present that again so we could see it?
I think I've given 10 times more information than Nathan deserves, I'm afraid.
All right, so if you're not prepared to do that, are you able to answer a simple question, which is, what time of the day was the picture? Must the picture have been taken based on the evidence that you have calculated using the predictive capabilities of your model?
I did take a particular time of day. I'm
Okay.
not going to tell you that. I haven't checked the limits of the window over which that could happen. But the model that I've used was at a particular time of day with a particular temperature of the sea at that time and the air temperature at that time.
So the answer to my question is no, you won't do it. Is that right?
I think that's more information. I've already given much more than I think most people would think I should have done already.
Okay, but so we accept that the land,
I've already told you it's 9 degrees. I've already told you, which I think is a big thing to tell you. I've assumed it's about 9 degrees C for the sea temperature. That's already a big piece of information.
See, no, right. I'm not happy that that's what you showed on your graph. Can you go pull that graph back up because it looked to me that you.
I suppose I've already shown it before. You could also go and look again. So I suppose I have to go and show it to you now. Right. Okay.
Yeah, because it looked to me like you were presenting the temperature of the air rather than temperature of the sea.
No, it goes down to 0, and that is sea temperature. Okay, here we go.
That looked like it was the altitude that you were showing.
Yes, yeah. Here we go. Here's the altitude in meters, and it goes down to 0. And it's a little bit below 9. I mean, I just said 9 as an approximation, but I think it's actually about 8.5.
They've got 140 meters sea.
Is this the temperature of the sea or the temperature of the air?
Right, it's elevation. So at 0, it's the temperature of the sea, and as you go up, it's the temperature of the air.
Right.
Sorry, which is it then? Is it 2 different temperatures or 1 temperature?
At 0, it's the temperature of the sea. The temperature of the air close to the sea is very close to the sea temperature.
Sorry, there's 2 different things on this graph then.
No, it's very simple. At 0, we're measuring the sea temperature, and then the air very close to that is also at the sea temperature, and so this is the continuous.
Hold on. You're telling me that the air above the sea is the sea temperature?
Very close to the air temperature, very close to the sea, is at sea temperature. Yes.
Right. So then, when you said your claim that the temperature appeared to be plus or minus 1 degree, were you referring to
over the period of a day?
Was that the sea temperature or the air temperature?
What relevance is that? Because we're not measuring it. We're measuring the bit just above the sea.
Yeah, we need to know what the air temperature was that day, and if you're not prepared to reveal that, then that's fine.
Yeah.
But I just want people to be aware that that's your position. You won't reveal the evidence that shows your model to be predictive.
Correct.
Right, so your model is a total fail. You won't show the evidence that proves that it can actually predict things.
You can check it. You will be able to go.
No, we can't. You haven't shown us.
All right. So on that basis, Rumpus, I'll stand by my position. I will reveal it once you've made your prediction. So I look forward to your hangout with Sly or whoever it is, Jeremy or whoever. And once we see your prediction, then we'll reveal it and see how close you are.
Well, I think you should be presenting your evidence. You're making the claim, I think. That you can see this.
You claim you've got a predictive model, right?
Yes, but it's usual to have the experimental data and then see if your model
No,
matches.
you don't get the experimental data after you make the prediction. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a prediction. It would be hindsight, you complete moron.
But it's two different things are going on.
Yeah,
here,
hindsight
Nathan.
and predictions are two different things. You are quite possibly the stupidest person to ever speak. We're not talking about hindsight. We're talking about predictions.
You don't understand the scientific method. And by the way, Nathan...
Oh, shut your mouth. I don't understand the scientific method. We haven't dealt with the scientific method here. We're humouring you and your pseudoscience model, and it's begging the question of a sphere. We're not doing anything to do with science. This is pure, unadulterated pseudoscience. We are humouring you and your religious belief here. Let's get it right, Rumpus.
Next
Yeah?
time you
Your
ask
failed pseudoscience model, you don't want to actually reveal the predictions until you can use hindsight. That is quite possibly the saddest pseudoscience model you could have.
Next time, by the way, you ask someone about whether they can change the speed of the rotation of the Earth.
Shut your mouth, you stupid little man. Next time I ask if somebody can vary a variable, what the bloody hell are you talking about, you pathetic little idiot? Anyway, we've got about an hour left on this live stream. I hope you're all enjoying the debate thus far. I'll publish the link so people can actually join publicly shortly. Hopefully you've all shared the show. If you've not done so, please share the show, as it does increase the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. If you would like to join the panel, be sure to mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. If you've not subscribed already, please subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. As I say, there is about an hour left on this live broadcast.
All right. So I'd like to give my analysis of what's going on here. I think Rumpus is trying to bait Riley into revealing his secret beforehand, so he can actually make some last-minute changes to his model.
And also not
That's
commit to
an essential requirement for it to work.
I've shown you the graph, Erwin.
Yeah, but you haven't shown us what time of the day that fits according to the evidence that you've captured, which is the prediction on your model.
You will be able to check
You're
on
trying
that.
to prevent an embarrassment by baitingRiley into revealing
Well, it's not
his
unreasonable to
data
ask him to
first.
present his evidence, Erwin. It's not
No, but it is
unreasonable.
unreasonable to fail to predict something when you were asked
I
specifically.
haven't. We have used the experimental data that exists and we've got obtained from meteorological stations, and it predicts those ray diagrams that I've shown you, and that you will be able to see the tops of the northern parts of the Isle of Man, contrary to what the Metabunk will tell you.
Yeah, I've already said this. You were told that by Anthony. That is hindsight and not a prediction.
We
Rumpus,
can't twist the maths, I'm afraid.
Hey,
The math,
You've had to twist the maths. You've just said that. It doesn't match what the Metabunk model says. So you have very specifically had to fudge the maths. That's exactly what you've had to do.
The Metabunk thing is not some divine thing. It's just an approximation that
It's nothing. It's just
came
a
up.
crappy pseudoscience model. It's not divine anything. I know you have an idol. Let's not use words like divine when talking about a pseudoscience model. Let's get it right. This stuff is definitely not divine. You've got to be joking. It doesn't even make predictions. You can't even make predictions without knowing what's happened first. In other words, it doesn't make predictions. All it has is hindsight and you obfuscating and talking over me.
How come our model exactly matches what Anthony saw on
October? Your model says it should be 700 feet behind the curve of the Earth.
No, on October the 27th. No, that's not our model. You're using the simplistic Metabunk model. No,
yeah, when we use the fudged maths model that you won't show us any predictive capabilities of it, then it makes a difference. But of course, we need hindsight to actually make it work. Let's see your actual observation first, Anthony, because then we can make the model work with hindsight.
Yeah,
our model accounts for refraction, which is unusual.
Oh, this is so boring. So what if your model accounts for refraction when you beg the question to begin with?
Our model shows.
Our model begs the question. Yeah, by having a model, you
Yeah, and
assume
you're
it's
inter-
a
you're constantly
sphere to
interrupting
begin
me
with,
again, and
don't
this
you,
is
Rumpus?
why you say
You beg
you're
the
if you'd
question
been
just by
better
having one.
behaved, I would
You've
have
just
been
got an
more
idol.
cooperative.
It's sad.
But you
You've got a
constantly
religious
interrupt
belief,
because you.
and your globe is just an idol. That's all it is. It's absolutely pathetic.
Arwen, you've been on the end of Nathan's treatment. Imagine you got that every single came on here. You'd be pretty pissed off. And I think most of the people, that's why people don't come on here, because of Nathan's behaviour.
Yeah, well, I don't behave the way like you do. I'm not an
You don't get
arrogant prick
overtalked and
that
abused.
rambles over everyone constantly.
You don't
So
get abused.
let's just round this out, because we don't need you here anymore to obfuscate every single point.
Okay,
Rumpus,
well, I'm
you're not
only
going to
here
give us
to
the
show
predictive
that I
capabilities
can
of your
account-
model, right? Yeah, you're just going to talk over me while I round out this little pointless session that we've just had with Rumpus. So we're not going to get the actual predictions, right, Rumpus?
Arwen, our model shows exactly what Anthony saw on the 27th of 10th last
So
year.
why are you trying to weasel out of making an actual prediction?
I did.
then?
Well, no,
Because he needs to adapt his model.
Yeah. He
No.
needs to leave enough wiggle room for him to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you
take
need
the
to cherry pick. You probably found a nice variation over the time of the day, so you can pick your right moment based on the data that Anthony will reveal. So you're baiting him into revealing it first, so you can then cherry pick your moment.
Anthony,
why do you need
what it sounds like?
Anthony, Arwen, do you understand?
Why do you need to cheat? Why do you need to cheat and weasel in order?
I don't at all.
play this game?
Numby, do you understand that if Anthony had said to us, it's this particular time of day, he would make my life much more difficult.
What, if he gave you the answer to the prediction in advance? Are you having a laugh? Are you really this stupid? If he just told me the outcome of the prediction that I need to make, my life would be much, much easier.
See, apparently this is the double standard.
This is the wow, you are such a stuttering buffoon. Yeah, like I've just said, if he was to give you the outcome of the thing we are asking you predict, it would make your life a lot easier, wouldn't it, Rumpus?
Denial of reality, Nathan.
Cheater.
Denial of science. Denial.
Here we go. Now we're on to this. Just being called a science denier. You're a science denier, Rumpus. Let's get it absolutely clear. None of your evidence actually conforms to the scientific method.
Oh, and what did I lie about?
You are the science denier here, Rumpus.
That's not a lie.
You're waiting for Anthony to reveal his data so you can cherry pick your moment of the day.
That's what he told me to do.
No, we've told you to make a prediction, which you won't give us.
Yeah, no, he told me I could pick any conditions. He told me that I could pick any of the conditions on that day to use in my model. And
no, that's not what I said. I asked you to make a prediction of what necessary conditions will be required on your model to account for seeing the land when lay on the beach. That's what I asked you to do.
Right, and the conditions we have found on that day do allow our model to give the predictions of seeing.
Do allow your model? Do they match? Do they match what the actual conditions were? In other words, did your model get it right?
Our model is a thing that renders images.
Again, I've just asked if your model got it right, and you start telling me about what your model is.
But
did it get it right?
Images. It doesn't create temperatures.
Get it right?
You might as well be asking me if my model creates the Liverpool match prediction.
No, I'm asking if it was capable of making an accurate prediction. Did it get it right?
It produces images. It doesn't.
See? I ask if he gets it right, and he tells me what it does. He doesn't say no. We all know it, Rumpus. Every single person, every one of the 140 people knows it didn't get it right. We already know.
Images. And Nathan, don't you understand? It produces.
Here we go. I'm being asked what I don't understand. Not being told that my model got it absolutely right. If my model got it right, Rumpus, I would be standing on the top of a chair going, of course it got it right. Because it's correct. Because that's what our model is. Our pseudoscience idol is always correct. But you won't say that. When I ask, did your model get it right? I get what your model does.
Our model does not predict.
See? Our model does not do this, that, and the other. You won't just say you got it right or wrong, will you? And we already know. You're like a politician. You won't just say, no, we failed. Why are you going da-dum-da-dum? Right, if you do that again, Rumpus, you'll get kicked out. Don't da-dum-da-dum over me like you're... That is the cheapest obfuscation technique you can use. You are lower than Grim V if you go da-dum-da-dum-da-dum while I point out that your model failed.
But you won't let me answer the point. You will not let me speak. Right. Our model takes temperatures, environmental conditions, and creates images. So to ask me whether our model creates temperatures...
I didn't ask that. I asked if it got it correct.
It creates images.
See? I ask if it got it correct. You go on to telling me what it creates.
That's what it predicts. It predicts
and
images.
did it predict correctly?
I haven't got an image to compare against.
Oh, right. Not... Oh, yes, I know exactly what time it needs to be for this image to match what I'm going to present as a prediction of what Anthony could capture. That would be what a prediction is. Not hindsight, not what we actually have and have seen. No, that wouldn't be a prediction. That would be hindsight.
Nath, can I present my screen? I found.
Is everybody else confused by this?
No, not at all.
No, we think you're sad. We think you're pathetic and your idol is a failure. Your pseudoscience model doesn't even work, Rumpus, and we think it's sad. We all know the Earth is flat. You think it's a globe because you have an idol, and even your idol is a failure.
It's very peculiar that Nathan thinks we should be producing temperatures when it produces images. This is what our model does. It does not produce temperatures.
You've given us a prediction of 9 degrees.
Is everybody else that's confused?
No, your model gave us a prediction of 9 degrees. What the hell are you talking about?
Confusion is not working, Rumpus.
Yeah, your confusion is shite. Useless. You are pathetic.
You're a moron if you don't...
Stay here and take my abuse, you pathetic little man, with an idol for a model that failed. You stay here and take my abuse and demonstrate to the audience how pathetically sad you are.
Take in images and output
Nathan,
temperatures.
Can you present my screen, please?
I am.
Right, so what I've done is I found that on worldweatheronline.com you can find out historic weather data. So I've put in the 21st of April, which was the date in question, and based on Rumpus's prediction so far, this is what he should be giving to us based on the temperature. So at midnight that morning, it were 8 degrees, 8 degrees, 8 degrees. So somewhere between 6 and 9 in the morning would have been the 9 degrees that his model would predict. But then for the rest of the day, 13, 14, 13, 12. And by 9 o'clock at night, it didn't go down to 12. It didn't go down as far as 9. So according to the prediction that Rumpus has calculated, it must have fallen between 6 in the morning and 9 in the morning, because at night time, and it wasn't taken at night, it was taken during the day, we can see that the temperature didn't get down to 9 degrees.
That's not sea temperature, is it, Anthony?
But we were talking about the elevation.
Hold on a second. Hold on, Anthony. It's a fair point. That's not sea temperature. Hold on. So can you show us... Hold on, Rumpus. Rumpus, I'm agreeing with you. You're right.
Oh, well done.
You're right. That's just the air temperature that they measure. So
yes,
hold on, Rumpus. God, you've got verbal diarrhea, man. So, Rumpus, please can you provide us with your measured data at sea level?
I will be doing that later.
Sorry, can you present that with us? Can you present that for us now?
Yes, I have done that. Actually. Yes, I've already done that.
Is it an extrapolation or is it an
air temperature?
Sorry, Rumpus, can you just close your mouth and open your ears? Is it an extrapolation or is it an actual measurement at sea level?
Actual measurement.
An actual measurement. Oh, fair enough. That shut me up.
Right, but the point is, the temperature that he gave on the graph he showed, we took the value of 9 degrees just above sea level, which isn't the value of the sea.
Where do you think this station is taking its elevation of this station, Anthony?
I don't care. It's your prediction that we're judging.
No, because it makes a very big difference. Because at 20 meters,
no, Rumpus, your graph, you told us that this was the value of the temperature at sea level,
and that's not at sea level. That's when I say sea level, I'm talking about right at sea level. In other words,
which is where I was at.
No, this is not at sea level. You'll find this has an elevator. If you go and find the information for this station, you'll find it's probably about 40 meters above sea level or something.
Your prediction on your graph showed that at the elevation just above sea level, it showed 9 degrees, and that wasn't of the sea, that was of the earth.
You don't know the elevation of this weather station, you idiot.
Who cares? We're talking about your graph that you've predicted.
Yes, but you're saying my graph is not consistent with this graph, but you need to know the elevation of this data.
No, you're misrepresenting what I'm saying.
Oh, my God.
I'm using the graph that you presented.
Yes.
And I'm showing you that the value you gave us just above the sea level was about 9 degrees.
Correct.
Right. So
but this data you're looking at now, you don't know what it's for, where the station is.
Right.
Elevation.
But what I can say is that we have an approximate.
With mine.
What I can do, Rumpus, reasonably is make a prediction of this is what you should be doing. This is what I can predict based on this data, is that it must have happened somewhere between the two times here. So we've got.
You're wrong, because this is air temperature and it's not at sea level.
Because it didn't drop down.
Anthony.
So you make the prediction for me then.
God. Anthony, the temperature changes dramatically with elevation.
Right. So you make the prediction then.
You need to know the elevate. This is what took us some time to work out. You need to get samples at different heights. You've no idea where this station is. So this data you've got in front of you is absolutely irrelevant unless you can find its elevation.
You're supposed to be doing this prediction. And
I've done it all. I've got the data. I don't have a problem. You're the one with the problem.
Worthy. We're not worthy. You're
not worthy of getting it. I will be presenting you with links to where we got the data from at some stage in 48 hours.
I just want to know what time of the day you think I took the picture at. That's all.
I'm not prepared to tell you that. I have picked a particular time of day. Our data is based on particular measurements for all the air temperature and the sea temperature at that particular time of day, but I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, so then you're done. Then you may as well just leave.
There, guys. He's going to give it. Let's just see in 2 days what he's going to come up with.
I mean, if you don't, I'm rather amused now that I could not present something and you'll never ever present your data. I must admit, it's rather tempting now, actually.
Yeah.
Rumpus,
I might be happy
or leave. Present your prediction or leave.
No, I'll let you kick me.
No, you're here to present it. I don't mind if you obfuscate for the entire 2 hours and present nothing.
I'm providing you with a hell of a lot of content here that I really shouldn't be giving you. I mean, I should go, really. I mean, I shouldn't be providing you.
You're right, you should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Bye-bye.
Piss off, then.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I like calling Nathan a wanker and Arwen an idiot, I suppose. That's quite fun.
That's all right. You can stay in ad hominem all you like, Rumpus. Just demonstrates further to the audience what a total failure this has been for you.
Well, no, I think it's just a response by reasonable people to your obnoxious behaviour.
Off you go. Feel free.
But again, Rumpus, you're making this about the individual and not the subject. You have a prediction that based on what Anthony has. You should be able to present this, not make this about any one individual.
Now, Spurs, do you understand that our model creates images? Do you understand that our model does not predict temperatures? It takes in temperatures into the model and outputs images. Do you understand that's what it does?
So you're saying the model
takes in temperatures at various heights and then it outputs the image, and obviously you have to be looking at something. So the model takes in temperatures, the environment, it takes in the position of the observer, it takes what you're looking at, and then it generates a 3D model, as I showed you with the comparing it with the composite earlier in the Hangout, and you probably missed that, and it then creates an image in the model, and then you can then compare that with what you take a photograph of. So you it takes in experimental data and it outputs an image that it thinks you should see. And in the case of Anthony's composite image that he got from his October measurement, we got a complete 100% agreement. Our model is absolutely fantastic at modeling refraction. So I'm really confident.
Nice that you back engineered that from old data.
No,
Listen, I'm being honest with you. If you're not going to present your info, just leave. The best thing that you can do right now is leave.
Oh, I'll let you do your usual kicking of me, Anthony.
Okay, so really? Rumpus, when are you planning to release your information?
Within the next 48 hours. But I must admit, now that Anthony said he doesn't want to release his data until I've done mine, I could effectively censor Anthony from releasing his data by not presenting at least
everybody knows it. I know, because you need that.
That sounds great.
Don't you?
No, I'm glad that got committed to air. So yeah, you're right, Rumpus. You could actually censor it by not actually making the prediction you were challenged to make using your fantastic idol called the Globe model. So yeah, you could censor people. Yeah, that's what you've just literally said you could do.
Arwen, why is it unreasonable to ask Anthony to present the data and his claims?
Because, I'll answer that. Because you're being asked to make a prediction, you complete moron.
Well, I'm asking him to show his data.
Yeah, that would be hindsight if you already have seen it when you then go away and back engineer how you need to do that with the maths. That would not be a prediction,
I've
would
shown
it
you
now?
The graph that we've required.
Moron.
Yeah, that's very nice and all. Why don't you actually present your complete prediction with everything, and then we can compare it with Anthony?
I wish to choose the venue.
Or stop calling it a prediction.
Well, I would be presenting all the information in the next 48 hours.
Are you still going to call this
Excellent. That's great.
Good for
you. You've got a
prediction.
commitment,
We'll
Anthony.
be
It's all
waiting.
right. Don't need to go any further. You've got a commitment. He will present his prediction in the next 48 hours. Excellent.
Yeah, I must. I'm obviously.
Okay, Rumpus. Why would it? Rumpus. Why will it take 48 hours? Why not tonight?
Well, I want to make a nice, neat presentation with some documents.
Excellent. That's all right. We don't want to rush you. Next 48 hours. That's plenty of time. We look forward to seeing it, Rumpus.
But I'm tempted, I must admit, by Anthony's challenge saying I've got to go first, even though he's the one who's got the claim.
Even though he's the one that's actually got the prediction. Yeah, that's right, Rumpus. Even though he's the one that's got the prediction and you can't actually produce a prediction. Yeah, we get it. Excellent slip of the tongue. That's absolutely priceless. I love it.
Num, you seem to be saying I went out and said, Anthony, I've got a prediction, go out and make the observation. That's not the way it occurred. Anthony went out and made the observation and then said, can you account for this? That's the way it's working. You've now
you came on here and said that this was a prediction, didn't you?
Yeah, no, and look, the way this has worked
did you not describe this as a prediction?
My model does give predictions as to what you should be able to see from experimental data, but that's not.
But now it's
num. You're implying that I said
now it's no longer a prediction.
Hold on, num.
First you
You're
came
implying.
in.
Hold on, num.
I need some other experimental data. I need visuals to make.
Hold on, num.
You're a complete weasel.
Num. Do you seem to be implying that I said here I'm going to make a prediction, Anthony? Go out and make the observation. That's not how it's occurred. Anthony's the one who went to make the observation.
But you came in here and said that this was a prediction, and now
I've been asked. Yes, because Anthony said.
I'm saying it's not a prediction. Retract that and say that you're not able to make the prediction, and that this is not a prediction.
From the experimental data, our model makes a prediction about what you can see.
No, it doesn't, though.
Yes, it does.
You're not willing to.
It hasn't. It hasn't. It's not that it does or doesn't. It hasn't.
Oh, it does. I've shown you the ray diagram.
No, you've not made the prediction you were challenged to make, and you're saying you'll do that in the next 48 hours.
But our model does not make predictions about temperatures. It generates images. That's what it does.
That's wonderful.
That's very nice for you.
That's so nice.
Okay, so Rumpus, as I understand it, you have to make the prediction, and then you go out and then you confirm the prediction.
Yes. So, for instance, here's what we could have done. Anthony could have said. Anthony could have said.
What I'm saying is that you're asking for the observation before the prediction.
Correct.
Well,
exactly.
Yes,
right on, Spurs. He's asking for the actual outcome before he makes his prediction.
Hold on, Arvin. I just want to get it right. I just want to understand, like, the model, because I'm always discussing the prediction side of things with the border. So I'm trying to understand this prediction.
Right, Spurs. Do you understand?
So hold on. As I've understood so far, we make a prediction, and then we test those predictions to confirm the model that's correct, right?
Right. So if we pretended that Anthony had not made his observation, I could say, here's the data we got, and this is what it predicts. The fact that Anthony has gone out and made the observation in between that process, but I didn't start this process.
Very handy to actually see if you can make a prediction.
Okay, I tell you what, if Anthony goes and on another day, and we get the experimental
Not necessary.
data.
He's got it, and you haven't seen it. So you know everything about it apart from what's on the image. He doesn't need to go back and do something further to what he's done already. We already have all the necessary ingredients for you to make a prediction.
Here's a prediction I'm going to make. 1, Anthony will not see an inversion layer like he did see on his observations on the 27th of the 10th last year. He will not see the little, what you call the mirage. He will not see an inferior mirage.
So
he will see that if we compare the image that he sees for the rest of the island that's more visible, you will see that it's slightly...
Yeah, but hold on, Rumpus, stop.
Jesus Christ, I was in the middle of making...
Rumpus,
when you can I just finish?
None of this is important.
Rumpus,
I'm making a prediction here.
No, Rumpus, because when you make a prediction...
Check out how triggered Rumpus is. This is brilliant.
Shut up!
Go on, get angry. Go on, get more angry at your failure. Go on, really burst a blood vessel. Do it, Rumpus. Get really angry. It's really, really entertaining. Go on.
Rumpus, I think the time that you left on.
Shout again. It was really entertaining.
That Anthony will be able to check
Come
against.
on, get a bit louder. Shout over me, Rumpus. Shout over me. Shout over me.
I'm making a prediction here.
Shout over me, Rumpus. It's really entertaining.
I'm making a prediction here. Right, the one prediction is that he will not be able to see the inversion layer.
Prediction time.
I'm making a prediction here. Right, the one prediction is he will not see the inversion layer, the inferior mirage
You've heard that.
normally see.
Heard that.
Oh my God.
I've heard it twice. So what?
Right, I don't know if I'll be able to get through to this. On the second prediction.
So what?
Well, it's a prediction about what he'll see in his image.
So what?
Well, that's a prediction. That shows the utility of the model.
And what does it prove?
So I'm making a prediction. He has not mentioned
nothing.
this. He has not mentioned this, and I'm telling him that our model makes a prediction about what he has seen. So I don't know.
He's told you what he's seen. I keep saying this. That's hindsight. He's detailed to you what he's seen already. Yeah?
I have made a prediction. And you asking me for predictions, and I've made one. And none of us pretending I haven't made any. And
it's
I've
just
just
like Mystic Meg. Tell me if I'm going to be successful. Well, the tides are turning. Yeah, really useful to tell me what you want us to tell us. Right. Just tell us what we've asked for, Rumpus. Did you get it right or not? You've made a prediction about the time. You've made a prediction about the temperature. Now all we want to know is, did your model get it right? Yes or
Trying
no?
to give a prediction here. Right, my prediction is A, he will not see an inferior mirage, which he normally sees.
Yeah, but you've said this already. You're getting dull. You just keep repeating yourself that we won't see an inferior mirage. And I've said, wow, so what?
Prediction,
And you just keep
and the
talking.
the second prediction is that the size of the mountains above the horizon will be scaled slightly. They will be compressed slightly. So that's two predictions that Anthony will be able to test.
Cool.
That he hasn't told me anything about.
Thanks for that.
That's
Great.
wonderful.
So you want a
Thank you
prediction
so much. That's really we're really grateful.
Go ahead.
Were we worthy of that information? Were we worthy enough for that?
Actually. No, you weren't. That was
I'm so humbled. I'm
just
just sorry. Just let me thank Rumpus from the bottom of my soul.
This guy, come on.
Rumpus.
Unbelievable. You're such a weasel. It's just unbelievable.
How can I be a weasel for making
Total
a
weasel.
Wait. Let me get
Hold on,
Rumpus.
I'm going to answer this wanker. Num, how can I be
Oh,
a
here we
weasel
go.
if I
No,
make
let him get to his ad
specific
hominems.
predictions?
Let's see if we can
How's
get him
that
shouting
weasel?
again.
Weasel, how is that being a weasel if I've made two specific testable predictions, you little wanker?
See, straight into the ad homs. Let's see if we can get him shouting as well.
He's accusing me of something where I've made two rock solid predictions.
Yeah, fail.
He's a real tosser if he can't
Total
appreciate
fail.
that.
Your model doesn't predict things. It just needs
It's made two
hindsight.
predictions.
You're
Just
a
need a bit of
joke.
hindsight. It would be a lot easier if Anthony just actually showed me the image before I had to make this quote prediction. You know, then it would be much, much easier if he just showed me in advance. If we knew beforehand, then we'd be on to a winner here, wouldn't we, Globies?
I've made two rock solid predictions there that I've not been told about his image.
Gents, I don't care about the ones you've not been told about. I'm interested in this one.
So you're not interested in predictions?
Let me tell you what's going to happen, Rumpus. I'm going to go back up there again for another couple of days because now I know the weather's getting better. We had to delay all the conversations basically because the weather was naff over winter, which is, obviously we'll get naff weather. But now the weather's getting nice again and the visibility improves. I know I can see that from the beach. So what I'm going to keep doing now is keep reproducing that evidence. And you're going to have to argue every single time that it's uniquely special factors that are making us allow us to see this. But if I get it over and over and over again, then it's not that unique, is it?
Okay, well, if you go to the beach and then you say, here are the environmental conditions, and we go and check up them, then I will be able to tell you before you make the observation whether or not you will be able to see the floaty land, as you call it, on the northern part of the Isle of Man. If I'm given the experimental meteorological data, I'll be able to tell you ahead of time, before you tell me anything, whether you'll be able to see those bits of land from the shoreline. I'll be able to tell you ahead of time.
But why would you reject the metabunk thing that says that it should be like 600, 700 feet behind the curve and we shouldn't see any of it?
You know
why
very well that's
arguing
an
that we should see
atmosphere.
some of it?
Anthony, you know that is not a prediction by the metabunk thing. That is without an atmosphere. And the metabunk uses the refracted version because we have an atmosphere and it refracts things.
But do you understand, though, at the distance involved that it should be like 700 feet behind the curve?
No, I think if you use the refracted hidden, it was only it was a difference of only 50 meters or something.
Ooh.
Rumpus, it's miles going. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 foot behind the curve.
No, it's all right. I'm happy to now go through the metabunk calculation now that it's been brought up and challenged as only being a 50-foot difference. So let's have a little look, Anthony.
So, no, I think it's 50
Sounds
meters.
like Rumpus has made his model to adapt to
wait,
the
don't interrupt. You
looming.
idiot. 50 meters, I said, not 50 feet.
50
And
feet.
I did say to you that we are in contradiction with the metabunk calculator, but that's because our model is much more sophisticated than
How many
the
models have you
metabunk
got?
simple value.
How many models have you got? I thought you just had a model that worked.
Well, no one has said anything besides the fact that 7 over 6 is an approximation.
So you can cherry pick your model.
So your model changes.
It's only used the 7 over 6.
You did a lot of work.
The 7 over 6 model.
It's very good of you.
The 7 over 6
But
calculation.
just so we're clear, the model that we haven't seen and hasn't been shown to us containing gas pressure, that model that is apparently the standard model, and we haven't seen that model doesn't work. So now we're going to go to this different model that, again, doesn't look anything like a sphere, doesn't demonstrate a sphere, begs the question.
So the 7
Sorry,
over
what
6
was that? Wanker, did you say, Rumpus? Wanker.
You just love interrupting.
Did you say wanker? Is that what you said? Maybe we can get you to get angry while he says 7 over 6 about 50 times. Go on, get really angry, Rumpus. Tell us 7 over 6. Preach it to me. Preach it. Preach it.
7 over 6.
7 over 6, brother. Tell them. Preach it. Preach it to the audience. Tell them. Tell them about 7 over 6. Tell them about R. Tell them about how we know R. We know R, don't we? We know because we're believers. We have faith in R.
The 7 over 6
Feel the faith, people. Feel the faith in R.
7 over 6 correction was an approximation, and it's only usually used by surveyors over a few hundred meters over land. It's not designed to be used over water over long distances. It's just an approximation
does
that
the
Midwest
model
picked up from
does the
surveyors.
model
It's not
incorporate that
accurate.
fact? Does it, this pseudoscience
Right.
model that you
So if
believe you
it's
live
not
on,
accurate-
does
Sounds
that
like
incorporate
Rumpus has
that?
a
Start from-
cherry tree full of predictions.
If it's not accurate, Rumpus, we have to make a start from somewhere, and that's why I didn't use Metabunk. I used the Dizzy Hub one, which
that's
starts
worse.
without an atmospheric refraction.
Yeah, but that's
index
obviously worse,
whatsoever.
isn't it?
And
Yeah,
that
but
told
that's
us it
worse,
was
isn't it?
700 feet
Yeah,
behind the
but
geometric
yes,
curve of the
that's
Earth.
worse, though, isn't it, Anthony? There's no point in picking on a worse
It's not worse,
model.
because if the other one's not accurate,
Well,
which
it's
is
better.
worse?
Yeah, but it's better than the one you picked, isn't it, though, Anthony?
Which one's worse? The one that's got no atmosphere, which is geometric, or the one
Yes.
that's got an atmosphere that's inaccurate?
The geometric one is more inaccurate than the one with the 7/6 correction.
Yeah, but if the other one's inaccurate, how inaccurate is it?
Well, the one with geometric was very inaccurate.
That's right. So we can't use. Hang on, the geometric one's inaccurate.
Yes. So you need to use
What?
the refracted hidden to give an
No,
approximate.
it's not inaccurate.
It is.
It's subject to the atmospherics.
No, it isn't. That one. No, that geometric one is obviously not subject to the atmospherics.
The geometric curve, the Dizzy Hub one, is subject to the atmospherics.
It doesn't use refraction, does it? It doesn't use atmosphere. It presumes no atmosphere.
Correct.
Right.
But
Well, that's
if
useless
your
then,
one
isn't
that
it?
does presume an atmosphere is inaccurate, what else
It's
are we
better than not assume. I don't. This is the problem you people have. You don't
Sorry,
understand.
what's it
the
better to assume? What is it? I've just missed that. What is it that we should be assuming? I don't really follow Rumpus.
The Metabunk one is quite a good predictor, but you can have better ones. There's no point in saying, "Oh, there's a worse one, therefore we use that instead." No, you
Sorry,
go
the
for
worst one, the one that he's describing as worse, simply refers to the actual geometry of Earth and its sphericity, right?
It denies the atmosphere.
No,
but you
you're
said
saying
that
the
your
worst
atmospheric one
model
is not accurate.
is the one that's actually accurate,
Okay, let me
physically
try and
accurate. that
summarize
is.
this in a quick sentence.
We know that light travels in straight lines.
Not in the atmosphere, it doesn't.
Right. But you can't give us an accurate variation for what it should be.
Our model, the model that I'm using to predict what you will be able to see on the 21st and what you saw last October, gives a very accurate representation of what you saw, and it matches your composite exactly.
Does it match the
Okay,
conditions?
that will be cool. We'll
Does
be
it
looking
match
out
the
The
for it.
conditions
Metabunk
on the
one
day?
doesn't match your composite exactly. So
Does it
ours
match
is
the
better.
recorded conditions?
I have found, yes, we went back and I just showed you, if you remember the start of the Hangout,
No,
I
does
showed
it
you
match
conditions.
the recorded conditions?
We used the recorded conditions and we generated an image that
And did
matched
it match
exactly the
reality?
composite.
Did it match?
It matched the composite exactly. Yes, it
Right,
matched
so
reality.
basically,
No,
we're at the
not the
position where
composite.
the land
The
should be 700
prediction,
feet
not
behind
the
the
not the
geometric curve
composite. You
subject
see,
to
you
atmosphere.
slippery little slimy worm. Not the composite. We're talking about your prediction. Again,
Our
not about
prediction is an
hindsight.
image. Nathan, do you not? I keep on asking you this, but you don't seem to understand. Our model creates images. That's what it predicts.
Yeah, I get it. You take data,
Right, so
you
why
put
do
it
you keep
in.
on
You
asking
haven't
about the
shown
temperature?
us any
We
of
take
it,
the
though.
temperatures and we
You
create an
haven't
image.
shown us any of it.
Our model takes temperature information and it gives images. And if you take the temperature that we found, we went to the meteorological stations on the day Anthony made his observation in October. We fed those into our model, and it came out with an image that looks exactly like the composite that
And
Anthony.
what time of
created.
day? What time of day did you feed into your model?
For the composite last October?
No.
For the one on 21st, the recent one. That's the piece of information I'm withholding.
So you're not telling us about the predictions,
It's not
correct?
a prediction.
Yeah,
I
you're
never
not giving
agreed
us
to
a
prediction
prediction
about the
then,
time of
are you,
day.
Rumpus?
I was just saying.
That's what you were challenged to do. Tell
Well,
us
yeah,
what
but
the
I didn't accept that
conditions
particular challenge.
are
Yeah, you did.
for this to
He mu-
occur.
I didn't accept that particular
You
challenge.
came on here and said that you were
right.
making a prediction.
It does about what you can see, and I've told you to.
No, you were told in advance what you could see. That's hindsight, Rumpus. You don't seem to understand the difference between hindsight and a prediction. That's what you've been asked for. You're just withholding that information.
I've given you two rock-solid predictions, and Numtum seems to have erased that from his memory. I don't quite know why. I've given you two rock-solid predictions that I was not given any information about by Anthony about what the image will look like.
Yeah, that's because you're being asked for a prediction. How many times have we got to
I've
say
told
it?
you how
This
you
is
will not see an
so
inferior mirage.
sad.
I've told you will not see an inferior mirage, and also the
Oh
hills
yeah,
with
we'll give
scale.
you the predictions that we want to give you. Yeah, Rumpus, we don't care.
So Anthony's not given me that, so I could not have got that.
Yeah, he hasn't
from
given you the
anything else
information in
besides my
advance.
model.
Yeah, we know this. We haven't made it easy for you by giving you the information first. Yes, we know.
I don't quite understand how you could not appreciate the magnitude of the prediction I've just given you. It's
Yeah, you
remarkable.
got
You
a
haven't
whole
given us
cherry
anything.
tree
You
full
are a
of
total
models,
failure.
and you want to pick
Total
them.
and utter
Arwen,
fail.
I have
Why
made a prediction from the experimental
No,
data.
you didn't. You haven't made any prediction.
Okay,
No, we
Al,
haven't.
just try this again. If
You
you
just,
haven't.
you just
You said
made
you're
a
withholding
couple
your
of
time.
Do you
elements.
understand that by predicting there's no inferior mirage, that is a prediction? Do you not understand that?
No, that's
Right,
just
that's
a
not what we
selective
asked you for.
prediction
I
that
don't
you've
care
just
that's what
decided
you
to
asked me. That's
insert
the
here.
prediction
We're
I'm
not
making.
interested in
Who
the
cares?
predictions
Yeah,
that you
that's
just
good for you.
This
decide
is
to
a
give
prediction.
us.
It tests our model.
Yeah,
I
You do
predict
not
that
have one
I
of
might
those in
have
your
cereal
image.
on
yeah,
Tuesday.
you'll get
and
a
that's
So
penny
it's a
for your
what we're
prediction.
doing.
predictions.
Owen, do you
Nice.
understand that's a prediction? Do you understand that is a prediction, Owen?
Do you understand, Rumpus, that I might have cereal tomorrow? Now, that is a firm prediction. Now, don't ever accuse me of not being able to make predictions.
So why did you say I
Also, me having cereal tomorrow absolutely unequivocally proves that we are on a flat Earth.
what proves you're on a flat Earth? 'Cause
Me
look,
having
these
You didn't
cereal
make any
tomorrow, the
model
capability of
predictions. You
making
just
that
made a
prediction.
couple of
It
elemental
doesn't matter that it's not relevant. I'm just going to make a
fragments.
prediction and then declare
Our
that it
model
proves
creates
I'm on a
images.
flat
Owen.
plane.
Do you understand that? Do you understand that our
I'm just
model creates images from
echoing and
experimental
mirroring
data?
how
Yeah, but
moronic your
I'm
position is,
severely
Rumpus.
doubting that it's a singular model, really. I think you got
Well,
a whole
okay,
cherry
well, you-
tree full of models and you're waiting
But I
for
made a
Riley
prediction.
to release his
But
data
Arwen,
so
I've
you
made
can
a
cherry
prediction.
pick one.
I've made a prediction with our model,
Yeah,
Arwen.
it's very
Yeah.
nice.
Predicted
It's very
that there
nice.
won't
Oh,
be a
you-
mirage.
That's how you
It's
test
an
the
amazing
validity of it.
prediction.
Oh, you made a prediction. Oh, okay, great. I thought
You made a single
You're a
position-
moron,
couple of
Numpty.
elemental predictions. You didn't give a complete model prediction.
I have made 2 rock-solid predictions that...
Wow.
Yeah, that's nice. It's not a
Wowee,
model
that's so
prediction.
nice.
It's just
It
a
is, of
couple of
course it's not.
elements.
Rest assured,
No,
you've done a
what
good
do you
Yes, it
job.
is a
understand? It's not
couple
a
of
prediction.
elements, Rumpus. That's what you predicted. And a
What did
couple
I
of
predict?
elements of what we would see.
What?
That's not a model prediction. It's
Model
not a complete
creates an image and it
model
makes
prediction.
predictions about what you will see, Arwen. That's what the
Yeah,
model
You were
we
does.
got
told
it.
what you
We
would
got
see.
it. You
So
gave
why
a
do you
couple
not
of
understand?
Been
Keep
told
on
that.
making stupid comments. Stop it then if you
Not
understand.
stupid. You've been told
Riley,
what you
you
would
got
see.
just forget this guy, seriously.
Yeah, I think you should be.
I've got a
He
predictive
made
model.
his
You don't like that, do you,
This
Numpty?
guy's a
Not gonna play
cheater.
ball.
I'm
Cheater.
making predictions, Numpty. You
He's a
don't like
cheater.
it.
He's a weasel.
You get a penny
Spherical
for your
model makes
prediction.
predictions and you don't like it. I've
Rumpus,
given
listen,
you
you were
rock
given a
solid
straightforward
predictions.
task, and
I've
you
given
haven't
you
presented
2
yourself
rock-solid
well.
predictions, Numpty, and you don't like it. You don't accept that they're predictions.
You're a
That's
cheater.
a problem
You're
with
a
your brain.
weasel.
I've given a rock-solid
You want to
prediction
just
too.
you want to load
My
the
rock-solid
deck in
prediction
your own favor.
proves
You
How
don't
is
want
that
to.
loading the deck?
I'm going to give a prediction as well, and I don't
Yeah,
even
go
need
on,
a
Arwen.
model.
Let's all give
I'm
predictions.
predicting that the sun will
Hold on.
reflect.
This is
Numpty,
important. I want to hear
explain to me
Arwen's
how that's
prediction.
loading the dice.
Cool, isn't it?
Numpty, explain to me how that's loading the dice.
I'm not going to bother talking. I'm not going to.
Because you don't like reality. You like to censor reality.
No, what we've been
Numpty,
explaining
I've
to you
made
for the
2
last
rock-solid
hour.
predictions.
I'm
I've
just
made
talking
2
to Riley now.
rock-solid
I'm talking
predictions.
to Anthony now.
I've made
I'm saying
2
Anthony,
rock-solid
Yeah,
predictions.
we
How
got
is
it,
that
Rumpus.
okay?
You made 2 rock-solid predictions,
Yes.
elements of what we would see. That's not a complete model predictions. It's just a couple of elements.
Not making a prediction. Just forget about it. You should just show your stuff for the benefit of everyone.
have.
else. This guy's a
I've
weasel. He's
made
not
two
going to play.
predictions.
He doesn't want to play fair. Forget him.
I've made 2 predictions.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
good
you
for
haven't done
you.
the one that was mattered.
Well, I'm using data of a particular time, and you can invalidate those. If you think I'm somehow using invalid data, you could be able to show. You will be able to show me. I'll give you links to that, Anthony. I'll be providing you with links to the meteorological stations with their data.
Rumpus, look, in chat right now, I've asked them, should the Rumpus be kicked? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Look at all the ones that are coming through. Why
Well,
why should you be here right now?
Well, I'm honestly, I really shouldn't be here. I mean, I'm giving you valuable information.
You're not
here.
worthy. You're not
So just
worthy.
leave
No,
then.
you're not with me. I mean, you've got a brain of a bloody apple.
So if you shouldn't be here and you accept that
I
you shouldn't be
think
here-
I'm gonna basically do what the public wants here.
Yeah, I think
You
so.
don't mind.
I think so.
All right.
Rumpus, you're
Nathan?
invited to leave, Rumpus.
Well, I made a prediction, and you don't seem
You
to
haven't
understand what a
you haven't
prediction
done
is.
what you were asked to do. It was
Yeah,
to
you
make
But
haven't.
I
It's
didn't
complete
accept
fail.
that challenge. About my
Complete
model
fail,
creates
Rumpus.
images. My
Total
model
fail.
creates images.
You
What
just
you will
failed.
see.
So
Do you
all
not
you've done
think
is
predicting
fail.
what you will see, Anthony, is worth
It's a total fail. All you've done
This guy
is
already.
confirm
God.
what you've already seen.
So
All you've done. It's a
We're gonna
total
listen to
fail.
this guy say the same thing for 100th time. Like,
No, he's gone now.
okay, good. God.
Right, just for the benefit of everybody in chat in the hangout, Rumpus was asked to tell us what would the conditions necessary be to get the evidence that we've got. Now I didn't show him the evidence because I didn't want him to backwards engineer the maths, which is why he won't commit to a time. Now ultimately that's exactly what he's going to try and do. He's going to backwards engineer the maths to make it work. Well, I don't agree with that. I think that if the model's got a predictive nature to it, and we've got the evidence that really goes against this non-standard refraction nonsense, it's reasonable to ask what the conditions must be to see this, and therefore tell us what time of the day it must have been. Now, based on the temperature that he cited at roughly 9 degrees, I was able to establish, looking at the historic data, that must therefore have happened between 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. A 3-hour time window. And he won't commit to anything. He's then said he'll hold back for 2 days so he can do it on Jeremy's or somebody's hangout. Fine. Well, I don't think it's fair that he gets the information before the prediction. So until we see what his prediction actually is for what time of the day it must have been taken, I'm not going to reveal the information because he's failed to produce the evidence of the prediction of the predictive nature of his model. And that's the bottom line. I'm not being unreasonable.
No,
Not his
well, he got
model,
48
a different
hours.
model.
To
A different model that
basically
is
show
created.
it.
Sorry, Owen. A different model that is created from scratch. This isn't some historic model he has gone to. He's created this from scratch to try and overcome this problem and beg the question that he's on a sphere.
And denounce the Metabunk website in doing so.
Correct.
I think the thing is that the audience wants to see this big reveal, and I like. Do you want to be totally beholden to Rumpus when he's just gonna cheat and weasel anyways? Like,
I want the predictive nature of their model claim to be quashed, because if they can't predict the nature of their model, then they can't predict it, and that's what Rumpus is failing to do. So
Well,
I want to reveal it.
He said
However,
48 hours, so give him the 48 hours.
Yeah.
If he's gonna wait like another day past that, then it's very, very obvious.
To be
as
honest,
what
I think
he's
it's worth.
doing.
I think it's worth that actually, Anthony. In the respect that exactly that will be achieved if you say you need to predict how and why and what time, and you won't, then your model can't. That's the conclusion we will draw and have already drawn on this show. You know, he's now got his little Weasley 48 hours. Well, fine. 48 hours will tick by. There will be other observations made. But in the case of this particular observation, it will stand as the one that was censored because it was a failure for the model to actually predict what would happen. So that was censored by Rumpus.
And it is down to Rumpus. I'm ready to go with this, and I presented it at the convention last night, and they all saw it.
Yeah, it's been seen. It's not been censored by us. It's not been censored by Anthony. It has been presented. A sizable number of people have seen it, so it hasn't been censored by us. The only people saying that they won't actually come up with their prediction is the Globeheads and their pseudoscience model.
yeah, I've seen it, and it's mind-blowing. It's awesome. So I'm just excited for everybody to have the opportunity to get a look at this. But yeah, let's wait 48 hours then, just on account of the Rumpus's Weasley nature.
Yeah, I agree.
It's very obvious that Rumpus has somehow perfected a way to really quickly make and adapt models.
Yeah,
He's probably gotten very good at model making. So he's got an entire cherry tree. And he's just waiting for you to present your photographic evidence, so he can literally cherry pick.
Well, what he actually
models
did
that
there,
adapts the best.
what he actually did there, his technique this time was called the flooding technique. And when you flood an argument, you present it with so much information that it basically loses the point. But the point that he was presented with was, can you tell me what conditions were necessary to get that floaty land from Laomi Beach at the thing? It should be 700 feet behind the curve of the Earth. So what were the required conditions on your model? What's the prediction? And part of that is going to involve temperature, pressure, densities, gas, all them four things. And he's going to come back with a prediction. So then the question would be, right, okay, so what time of the day would it have been done? And that's not that difficult to work out. You would know if it was high noon, it would be because blah, blah, blah. You would know it must be nighttime because blah, blah, blah. It must be early morning because blah, blah, blah. And he couldn't do it. So ultimately, he has failed. And he's tried to apply the flooding technique to make it look like he hasn't failed. But ultimately, he didn't make the prediction that he was asked to do. That is a fail on the predictive capabilities of your model, Rumpus. I don't see any reason why you couldn't present it today.
It fails.
Yeah, sophistry, bullshit, squirming.
It requires adaptation. It requires very specific tinkering, obviously.
It requires hindsight.
Yeah.
So let me read this message here. My God, he doesn't want the video or picture results. He wants the variables to put into the model to predict what you should have seen before he sees it. Yeah, that's the point though, isn't it? If your model's got predictive capabilities, you shouldn't have to have the variables and all that. You should predict what you should see, and then make it match the evidence that he knows that we've told him what the facts are. He should be able to make the evidence fit that with a prediction. But I'm not going to show him all of it. I want him to make the prediction.
Chris, you stink.
Well. Anyway.
Drop. If it continues, we're all on Skype. We can continue this exact conversation. If it's going to be some idiot called Chris MCMXCIII, if he wants to join and disrupt the rest of this conversation, we can just carry on Skype.
The only variables that you need are what could you prove by as a result of your observation, and apply it to the model. But it doesn't fit the model. That's the point for making the request for a prediction, because there needs to be an explanation for why we can see it. It should be behind 700 feet of curve. That's a lot. But we're not just seeing the tippy tops of it. We're seeing basically all of it. So the issue becomes, well, you can't argue on the interpretation of the evidence now because it's so far off the model. Yeah, you could do it with the elevation of the height when you were arguing over whether I was at 35, 60, 90, 200 feet, but you can't do it this time. So the variables are, we see the land that should be 700 feet behind the curve. It's a fixed altitude at 0. Well, 1 foot. How else can you account for 700 feet off 1 foot? You don't really need any more variables. You need to tell us what the variables must be for it to account for that much better, even though light travels in straight lines.
Yeah. Well, I wonder how well his model will even work, because the whole concept of the looming, which is a requirement for certain observations to match, or the model to match certain observations where you can see very far, then you will need the looming part to work perfectly. And that's probably the most complicated aspect about his models, and that's probably what he constantly needs to tinker on with, because that is just very, very hard to get right. Even though it's complete nonsense, because in practicality, with how observations work, how optics work, that can never work that way. But even to get the model right, it requires tinkering probably, and that's why he's trying to bait you to release the footage.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, whatever his prediction might have been, he would have to argue that it's because he even said it himself. The words he used were, it's an extreme case, it's an unusual case, words to that effect. You can go back and listen to exact words. But if it's that rare, then you wouldn't expect to get it more than once or twice. But I can get that anytime it's clear enough to be able to see it. Yeah, they're going to argue it's not clear, it's refracted. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, no, it's just clear, I can see it. The removal of the humidity of the atmosphere allows me to see it. But they're going to argue, well, it's not the removal of the humidity. It's going to be and that's what I'll actually do. For the next couple of times I do it, and I capture the same stuff from the beach, I'm going to note the humidity temperature, because that's the real variance that is being played with, in my opinion. As that humidity drops, we see it. As the humidity rises, we don't. That seems to be it.
Yeah. Do you have a humidity?
You can get it online, can't you? You can see. You can just do the weather now, and then use.
But it would be good to have an actual, a local device. It's not that complex or even expensive.
Well, I know what the humidity
meter that you can just bring with you, like a stick.
I know what the humidity was on the day at the time that I did the observation, because I've just checked it, and it seems to support the position that the lower the humidity, the more you can see. So if we get that kind of information in future, happy days.
Ooh.
Shout out to the super chat.
To Earth is seriously flat. Bombarding children with flat Earth, reality so fun. Is that so?
There's no children being bombarded with flat Earth reality at the minute.
I say, yesterday at the convention, a Dutch, I think, reporter was chatting away to my wife, and he asked her, "Will your daughter become a flat earther?" And my wife replied, "She can believe whatever she wants to believe."
Yep, let them make up their own minds. I agree to that.
Just to address that comment there, it says, amazing they didn't say Rumpus's predictions were wrong. Rumpus's prediction was half of it. He said it must have been based on his graph, it must have been around about 9 degrees in temperature. And I showed that according to them, whatever that weather station came from, that temperature was 9 degrees between 6 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 9 a.m. Well, I'm not going to say that it's wrong because I don't want to lead him into anything. I don't want to give him any information about the time of the day. However, I will say he failed to predict. So you can interpret that whichever way you want. I don't want to reveal any clues about what time of the day the observation was taken because I don't want him to get that information to make the maths fit. I want him to make the prediction and then he can see the results to see did his maths fit.
A complete model prediction would have been nice. He predicted basically a few elements. It's very nice, but that's not a complete model prediction. It's not a complete, doesn't prove that his model completely works at all.
Yeah, we saw one slice of one peak of one hill, with both St. Bees and Isle of Man in the frame, and then later he criticised you for not showing it side on. It's like, well, you're here to make a prediction, man. It's like, let's see what you think front on would be presented as in the imagery and see if it matches. But we don't get to see that. We get to see one tiny slice of one tiny hill, and we don't get an actual measurement of how many feet we could see. We don't get anything.
It's a shame because I was really hoping that he would have done the thing that I asked him to do. I mean, he's had 48 hours on it. It's more than enough time to make the prediction.
I got a prediction for you. I bet that after 48 hours, he's not actually going to do it.
No, he probably won't do it. But everybody will know the reason for why it didn't come out today.
Yeah, let that 48 hours mark the complete failure of the globe model to make predictions that are accurate.
Yeah, it is. So let's see what we've got concessions now. We've got concessions that Google Earth is not their model. We've now got the predictive nature of their model is in jeopardy because Rumpus can't make the prediction because he didn't want to commit to it. And I quote his words were, "If I reveal that information, I'll be caught out." That's what he actually said. Now, I don't know whether that went to broadcast.
No, it didn't.
He did say that.
He did say it twice. Exactly like that.
Oops.
I thought it was hilarious. It's like a slip of the tongue, a Freudian slip. Like he didn't realize what he was saying, but that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, it's like when Ruhef was like, "Well, yeah, because the atmosphere is not moving, or the atmosphere is not moving with, or is moving with the Earth already, so that it can't be dragged."
Let me read this.
Let me go first. Sorry, Anthony. Excuse me. So Alex in the chat says, Nathan logic, someone not turning up within 48 hours means the Earth isn't a globe, more derp. And no, for a start, Alex, we're just humouring him. Yeah? His model failing doesn't prove or disprove anything. We're simply humouring his pseudoscience model. That's all we're doing here.
Nath, let me ask you this. Do you agree? Right, which is being described here? Is fudging of maths being described, or is valid prediction being described? Quote Sean Hufford.
You haven't laughed.
Quote Sean Hufford. Without the variables, time, elevation, and location, he can't give a prediction of your results. Time is needed so we can gather all of the weather data at the time of your observation. Is that fudging the maths, or is that making a prediction?
Fudging the maths. 2020 hindsight. If we've got all the data, then what are you predicting?
Exactly.
Another shout out to maths. Earth is seriously flat. Thanks again. Happy Flatter Day. Operation Mass Globe Tommies. Globotomies. Oh, right. Globotomies. I like that.
Lenny Harry says.
That's kind of good, actually, having the globe removed from your brain. That's
Lenny Harry says, tell me which university and I will phone the department myself and tell them that you are a flattard. The University of Wolverhampton for my undergrad, and for my postgrad, it was called Manchester Metropolitan University. It's now called the University of Manchester. Do it and prove that you've done it. Present a video and let's see you actually do it and see what they tell you.
You know what? We've done this just to check how far records went back. I can't remember the exact reason why we did it, but while I was on a call with Anthony, he called up. I think it was Manchester, correct?
No, it was the University of Wolverhampton.
Oh, was it Wolverhampton? But you called back and they did actually have your records spanning back from about 15 years ago.
Yeah, but get this though, right? I rang them and I asked them, I said, if I give you my student number, because I remember it, I said, if I give you my student number, would you be able to confirm who I am based on that number? Because I wanted to see, did it exist? Sure. And I went, da, 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 da. She pulled it up and and Nathan was on the call. She gave me my name and address. And I was like, fucking, they still have that data. So ring Lenny Harry, phone them one day and point them in the direction of these hangouts. Yeah, you do that, Lenny Harry. Let's see what happens when you do. Isn't it peaceful when Rumpus leaves?
Yeah, it's such a so nice and silent all of a sudden.
It's just like it's like this. It's like when a storm's ripped.
Yep, we just pick up the debris and we move on.
It's like getting off a flight when there was a screaming child on the.
Thanks, Bonnie. Rumpus failed in his prediction.
Yeah, he failed to predict.
Flat Earth reference on Radio City.
Really?
Yeah, he said, apparently, for those of you who don't know, the moon isn't 250,000
miles away.
Kilometers or
You're just earwigging Anthony's conversation in the background to round out the show. Is that how this one's going to round out? Is it really going to be this way? Clearly it is.
I think Chris Cross, the soccer account that keeps joining, I think he was a little bit too slow there because we managed to block him. I don't think he can come back in.
Really?
Cool.
That's a shame. He'll just join with the blue alien guy.
Yeah.
If it is Chris, you know, it's not going to be helping your depression and anxiety, Chris, you know.
So just for the benefit of everybody else, it was released in the convention last night. It is public. People have seen it. It does exist, and I'm not withholding the information. So let's just clarify that one because I keep seeing that one being popping up.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Numi? I know you were quite vocal while Rumpus was here. Now it's calmed down a bit because we've only got a couple of minutes left. It'd be nice if you rounded out with your thoughts on it.
No, I think I don't really have much else to add, actually. I'm good.
I'm personally hoping that Riley's gonna share the footage with me in our personal Skype. I'm really curious. I didn't go to the convention. I didn't see it. I'm really curious what you got.
I'm not sure you're worthy.
Oh, please. Oh, flat lord.
I was just taking the mick out of Rumpus actually in his statement.
That was so. He really does have a lot of gall, doesn't he?
About 30 seconds left. Anyone else want to round out?
Yeah, Earth is flat. And the ocean reflects the sun like a mirror, a flat mirror. Just like Tim proved with his amazing footage the other night of the salt flats.
Yes, that was glorious. Great work, Tim. Thanks again.
Yeah, I'd like to say a big thanks to Tim Osman as well for that footage. It was fantastic.
So keep it flat, everyone.
Cool. Well, in that case, that will be probably the calmest round out to any show that I've ever done in this debate series. But with that, I will say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully for sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!